Flash is coming up at the top of the staircase. There's an easy kill for Hyper, and a second and a third. DarkZero in full control. A triple for Grixter, and there's the quad. United.
Great teamwork. Sonics take the lead again. Disrupt the best of the best.
His teammate's gone, and Blitzman, he's got a Nitro shell as well.
TSM!
Tempo Storm absolutely storms through this matchup. Oxygen takes the series.
Spacestation Gaming are your world champions!
Welcome to Phase 2, Play Day 2 of the Rainbow Six Siege US Division. Today, DarkZero versus SSG, and then the Sonics versus E United. Some exciting matchups in both Group A and Group B. I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Veli and Jesse. Gentlemen, happy Monday. We have moved into Phase 2. No messing around. I apparently missed the blue memo, too. Y'all looking sharp. But yeah, how we feeling this Monday? Veli, I know you're extremely excited. You were talking about it incessantly right before the show, so.
We get the matchup I've been waiting for a long time. Okay, personally, I'm a big fan of the Spacestation versus DarkZero rivalry that they have. So that's the game I'm looking forward to today. I just want the games to start now.
Yeah.
Jesse, same boat?
Please start them now. It's a beautiful day for some Siege, so let's just get it underway, right?
Yes, we are so ready, but really quickly, let's take a quick look at this video from our sponsors. Welcome back, and this is our second day of Phase 2. So, Jesse, I'm going to have you start off with talking about the importance of this phase, and then Veli, after that, take it away, and let's recap everything that's happened so far, which has been a lot on the line. Really excited about this. But, okay, Jesse, you begin.
All right, so to break down what's important here, in Phase 1, we figured out who would be top 4. Those teams are now in Group A, and we would figure out who would be in the bottom 4. Those teams are in Group B. Now for the top 4 teams in Group A, the top 3 of those 4 are going to get a direct invite to the North American Major. Auction Esports have already claimed one of those top 3 spots. Today we're going to see Spacestation DarkZero play for another one of those spots. The bottom team is going to go to the North American Qualifier. In Group B, the top 2 teams will go to that North American Qualifier, the same one as the last team from Group A, and the bottom 2 will not go anywhere. They're just going to have to sit there and not be a part of the Major no matter what. So everybody has something to play for. Today there's going to be a lot of implications, specifically with our first matchup. We see who gets that second major spot. And yeah, there's a lot going down.
All right, and Veli, recap.
Okay. So for some reason you didn't catch what happened last week. We had nothing but bangers with our matchups, and the biggest one, in my personal opinion, and everyone else is out there, TSM face off against Oxygen. Now Oxygen, they're in Group A during this Phase 2, and in Group A, you win one game and you're guaranteed a major spot. Oxygen was the first team to qualify for the NA Major that we're gonna have next month. Now this first matchup as well, it's gonna be the same case. You win and you're in. If you lose, you're gonna have to be in a qualifier. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna want to win every game from this point on.
Yeah, a lot of excitement ahead of us, but really quickly, we want to check in with our casters, Kixon and Taro. And gentlemen, I'm sure you are just as amped as we are, ready to get this stuff rolling. So how you feeling on this Monday?
I feel great. It's going to continue Kix and Mai's trend of casting Space Station, so that's good. I think we've done every SSG match so far. I promise the viewers at home there's no bias, but this is a battle of the Titans, just as we saw with Oxygen and TSM last week, and there's a major spot on the line here, so huge expectations for both of these teams. One of them is inevitably going to fall short today.
Yeah, I like Parker. I'm very excited for this match, and major spot on the line. That's a lot to be considered. As Veli mentioned, if you win just one match in this Group A, you take it. And I think that both these teams are going to be bringing their A game. I'm anticipating that, especially as we've got that huge rivalry going between these squads.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. And y'all looking great today, if I do say so myself.
Right?
I mean, our casters always look fashionable, but I mean, those shirts.
Kix's shirt is nice. I will say that.
No. Yeah, I like the yellow flannel too. I mean,
Yeah.
they're both working it. It's a big
with the
match
yellow.
today. They knew they had to bring their A game when it came to fashion. But all right, gentlemen, let's talk about the schedule today. Get everybody caught up with where we're at right now. Phase 2, Group A, DarkZero versus SSG, and then Group B, the Sonics versus E United. So we're gonna bring up that schedule really quickly, and yep, there we go, y'all. It's about to begin. So let's start talking about this first matchup here. We will begin with DarkZero. DarkZero has a lot to prove today. OXG has clinched the first major spot, but Veli, many would argue that DZ actually has what it takes to be the best in the US division. Do you agree?
Oh, they definitely do. Okay, so not to take anything away from Oxygen, because they beat the Road Champs, they beat TSM, they look great. But in my opinion, I think that DarkZero are definitely up there. Now, I said the last time they were on board that I think that this team has what it takes to be number one. And there's one big reason why. Hyper. Hyper is by far the best player in all of NA. And looking at his stats, he's first place in player rating, 1.33. He's first place in kills and kill death ratio at a positive 68. And also, his KPR is first. Oh, excuse me, I was reading folks' stats, I'm sorry. Top 3 KD, top cost at 79, and a 1.20 kill per round. Hyper is by far the only player right now in NA that has more than 1.0 KPR. Sorry about that. I got confused with the numbers.
No, you're good. You're good. Jesse, what were you going to chime in and say?
Oh, I just want to say that I think DarkZero absolutely have an argument to be called the best team inside of North America right now. Their attacks look amazing. They have the highest attacker win rate at 68%. When they get man advantage, they have an 82% chance of winning the round, which is again higher than anybody else in the league, and it's just ridiculous. And keep in mind, as Billy said, you're going in that opening duel against Hyper, so good luck even winning it. DarkZero are a really strong opponent for Spacestation.
Yeah, certainly, without question. And it's okay, Veli. It's a Monday.
I'm sorry,
it happens to all of us,
sorry.
right? No, you're so good. I was just like, oh, the Mondays, right? But Jesse and Veli, let's talk about how these teams line up. They're both smart, mechanically skilled, methodical. I mean, SSG certainly has the titles, but I do feel like DarkZero has this finesse, this form. Jesse, why don't we start with you? Maybe you could elaborate on how you think they'll match up today.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities between these two squads. I think it'd be fair to say these are the two most structured teams inside of North America. They take things pretty methodically for both of them. I think really when you're looking for differences, you've got to look at an individual level. For Spacestation, it seems like they've got these great strategies, great coordination, but then if one person goes for a play and they mess up, it can kind of derail the whole round, and we see that sometimes with maybe it's Faults going on the roam, but wasting all his impact so he can't actually deny the plants. Maybe it's Rampy getting a little bit too aggressive. They have those moments sometimes where an individual player kind of messes something up. Whereas DarkZero, you more often find they'll be having a round and their strats are working, but maybe something goes wrong, and then it's an individual player to step up and really turn an unwinnable round into something they can work with. That's Hyper, obviously, but I'm also talking Mint. I'm also talking Eclipse. These are players that really can step up in the biggest moments. So I think on an individual level, DarkZero just has some of that finesse, some of that playmaking that Spacestation kind of lack.
Immensely strong players in this team. Yeah, Veli, please chime in.
So I'm a big fan of football, and they always say defense wins championships. But for DarkZero, they're trying to win it on the opposite end. Their bread and butter right now is going to be on attack. And in the 5 maps they've played, they have always either won or had a draw when it comes to the score. So they never scored less points on attack than the opposing team on defense. For wins, they have 3 maps where they scored more points on attack, and they only tied twice. So I feel like that is a big positive, because when you take a look at Rainbow Six, okay, you always say, oh, everything is defender-sided this, defender-sided that. DarkZero, they're winning on attack, and that's scary. And if defense or team's bread and butter, then DarkZero, they're trying to get you at your strongest point.
Okay, and gentlemen, I know that the three of us have talked about some of the videos that DarkZero's social account posts, and we love the videos that shows their communication behind the scenes. Am I right? Like, I know both of you kind of sounded off on that. Well, we have a very special clip here, and this is going to show you an inside look at DarkZero. This is actually from their docuseries, so roll the clip.
Yeah. And I know I could tell you guys could feel it, you were talking about it. It's just those explosive last 15, 20 seconds. So just hold your ground, be confident in yourselves. You guys are better than them individually and as a team. Okay? So if you need to, if you're hesitating, just say F that and commit. Okay? Once you have your control, just commit. Way to pull that round or that game round. That's huge. Okay? We play like that, this is gonna be an easy 2-0. Doesn't matter what map we play, okay? Play like that and we have this in the bag.
Ash is back behind Dragon, and Habana's on the stairs. Be careful, guys. This is super defensive site. 3 here.
Yeah, just try and stay alive then, Alex.
Top Dragon, or behind the Dragon statue. I'm gonna look in this. He's looking, peeking, careful.
They're probably gonna smoke me off.
Oh my god, they got me.
Ash got me, Dragon door. Nice try.
Yeah, we just can't lose 3 before they even go through the door. Yeah, it's by far our f***ing best site.
We could even
not
take.
lose.
Play your angle. Don't push, Matt. Just hold.
That's one dead.
Breach. Last guy's breach. Nice.
Good job.
Good call, Alex.
We've always been top. We know that, and we've always known that. It's just more so like showing the fans that that's how it is.
All right, one more.
Close this f***ing game out. Push it, baby.
All we have to do is just be faster. We have to be faster this round.
We're gonna do our nade.
Force
They've never seen this before. We got this. So the shield has to go first.
Okay, I can clear that.
I might be able to clear
he can do it from under.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, can I get a ping on the shield?
Yep, I hit a ping in 3.
Yeah, you're gonna get a nade kill right here. They're cading your wall. Listen, they're
cading the wall. So you're gonna have to impact for that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to impact the Kate off the cash wall. Can you flash a loaf right now?
Ready?
Audio
yellow. Okay,
Kate off.
Flash.
Heard.
I'm gonna go for wall.
Flashed again.
One smokes vault. Smokes vault.
Close.
We need to clear vault.
Playing yellow, Tyler.
Jaeger's fighting me yellow. Jaeger got me yellow.
There's 2 China.
Matt's stuffed here.
I have no flash room.
1 China dead.
Nice. Try to get China off that.
Loaf dead.
I'm coming.
Top yellow, top yellow.
Audio bunk. One's connector, going low.
Connector and bunk.
Last one low.
I think beating TSM just kind of showed everyone that, you know, we're top 2 in NA at least. And we've become like more of a team just in general. It's not like, you know, like us 3 old guys from, you know, the old DZ and then 2 new players. It's just like 5 players now.
Oh, absolutely loved that video. Oh, just great to see all that emotion. And then we saw Hot and Cold talking about the chemistry that they have together. I know that y'all are a big fan of those videos as well. Their comms.
Yeah.
Oh, just sounds beautiful. It's like an orchestra or something. Anyway, I digress. Let's talk about their opponent, SSG. Y'all ready for that?
Yes.
Along the line for SSG, our world champs, they had a shaky game against DG. They lost to OXG. They're looking vulnerable, Veli. A win against DZ is really vital for them. Am I wrong?
No, I feel like you're absolutely right, and they want to maintain their #1 status, right? To me, the only vulnerable part about Spacestation Gaming that showed in their most important game so far was against Oxygen, where folks had the audacity to go 8-23, which is totally out of this man's character, right? Folks, and I read his stats on the accident earlier, but like I said, Pro League Season 11, he was first place in player rating, first place in KD, first place in kills per round. Folks did it all. I don't think you're going to see a game where he goes -15 ever again. And the fact that Space Station are now primed to take this major spot, they're going to go all out against DarkZero because this is a team you can't go halfway with.
All right, Veli thinks Fultz is fired up.
Yes.
Hopefully, they're going to need him today for sure. Jesse, SSG is still a great team. Like, we don't want to take anything away from them, but it just, lately, they have not been as dominant as they have been. So I want to talk to you about what changes do you think that they need to bring to this matchup today to be successful?
I think there's two ways you can look at Space Station over the last few months, right? The first way is you can say, all right, they became world champions. They played the second half Pro League Season 11 without dropping a map. They won 7 in a row. And they came into this league and, you know, they lost versus Oxygen, which is not that good of a team. And then they narrowly lost versus Disrupt, which is like garbage because they're brand new. Thus, Space Station is no longer a good team. And I think that's the wrong way to look at Space Station. I think when you dig a little deeper, you see, okay, they fought tooth and nail to become world champions. There were some really close maps that could have gone either way there. They went undefeated in Pro League Season 11 in the second half, but they had a ton of 7-5s. Again, very well could have lost any one of those games, it felt like. And then they came into this league, and they had a very narrow loss where they played, I would say, slightly worse, but not even bad against Oxygen, and then pulled out the dub against Disrupt Gaming, who are looking way better than I think people gave them credit for. So I don't think that Space Station have fallen off maybe as much as people think they did. I think that initially they were certainly a great team, but not like head and shoulders above everybody else. And now they've just slipped up a couple of times. They went from narrowly winning every single map to losing a couple of maps here and there. And that's not a huge problem. I think get their players back on their feet, push things a little bit quicker, you know, get faults in the right headspace, and this should turn around pretty easily for them.
I mean, let's be real. They only lost 1 game so far this season
yeah,
because their
exactly.
best player had a bad day. Fosa has what it takes. I said this before. I'm ready for this game to start. This is going to be a banger.
All right. Well, bonus question. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. I'm going to allow both of you to get in a soapbox here and say whatever you want to about Echo. Veli, I'll start with you.
Take away Yokai Drone. No, seriously. So, Echo is back now, and he's going to be extremely powerful. In my opinion, Echo is the strongest anchor, so keep an eye on him. I don't know if teams are going to allow him in play or not. And if Space Station, who has the skin, picks him and he's on the board, I would be really excited to see a Space Station skin running around on the board.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse?
I mean, I think obviously Echo's been banned for a few weeks now. We saw some really interesting stuff coming out on the defender side of things. Coming back into now, we should see things somewhat return to how they were before he got banned due to the bugs. So I assume we'll see him banned a lot. I assume that means other defense operators will get through a little bit more. You might get some more common bans on the defense. And yeah, I mean, we'll kind of be just going back to the same, but it is still a new meta, and so it's still going to be a new environment that we haven't seen Echo in before. So I hope he'll be better, but we'll have to wait and see.
Echo's back, y'all. All right, time for predictions. Who is going to win this one? Jesse, I'm going to start with you.
I like Space Station a lot. I really do, despite the fact that I always seem to predict against them. But I do think DarkZero are the strongest looking team in the league right now. There's been no moment where I've thought that DarkZero have looked weak. Maybe the very first map they played all season, so I've got to put my money on DarkZero for this one. It should be close, should be a great matchup, but DarkZero, I'm going to say, take this best of 3.
Okay, big brain. Veli, what about you?
Bro, champ, still, I'm holding on strong to this roster. I still believe that they are a top 2 team. I don't see them falling to that 3rd spot with DarkZero and Oxygen, taking that away from them. So Space Station Gaming, 3rd map, 2-1.
All right, there we go. We're split again. Well, who will take it all? DarkZero or SSG? That game coming up. But really quickly, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram, everybody. And we have our community poll. And I know y'all want to see Kixon and Taro because they're looking extra sharp today. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Here we go now.
I would say the toughest team we faced in Phase 1 was actually ourselves. The games that we lost, and most of our games were close, I feel like we were making a lot of mistakes, and I feel like we should have placed better than where we were.
We were really struggling with like team mistakes that were costing us.
OXG, obviously, because we lost 2-0. It wasn't really close, but they played better.
Disrupt was pretty tough too. Like, they were both pretty tough.
It feels good to be in the top 4 teams in the US division.
It's kind of like what we expect from ourselves, so it's not too much of like a celebration, just kind of like a check in the box. Like, we really do expect a lot from ourselves.
I think we'd be disappointed if we weren't there.
A lot of people would have some things to say about us, like being world champs and then not even being in top 4 in Phase 1, so I think it's kind of expected at this point.
I would say the best team that matches up against us is either, I would say, OXG or TSM, because they play a little crazy.
I'd probably say DZ, just the way that they like to prepare for matches.
Yeah, I would say DZ matches up the best against us just because we kind of run like a similar system.
And they don't really worry too much about like running defaults.
I'm not telling you guys. I don't know. That's for you guys to find out who matches up best against us.
We don't think it really showcased like our full potential in Phase 1.
Taking a loss really kind of fired us up, I think.
Yeah, losing to OXG really stung. It was kind of the way we lost to him. It was a lot of close matches, a lot of small mistakes, really lit a fire under our butt.
We're feeling really motivated and hungry.
This is a very close team. We're all like family brothers, and I'd say we work through our problems. Nobody's afraid to give each other criticism, and I think we probably have the best like team chemistry out of all of Pro League.
It's really important for a team to have chemistry. Honestly, I think it makes or breaks a team if they all could like vibe with each other and actually like stand each other. I think it just makes you all that much better, and you can't be world champions without really strong chemistry.
Probably looking forward to playing OXG again if we can in this group. And I think that's for obvious reasons. They beat us. We're all very competitive. The fact that they beat us, you know, we're hungry for that rematch.
We deserve to be here. We feel we deserve to be here, and yeah, we're just gonna keep trying to get to the top.
All right, well, you got the words there from SSG themselves, and I thought it was very telling and very interesting that they said that their toughest opponent was themselves. We've talked about championship hangovers before, and I mean, you've got a lot of pressure on your shoulders as world champions. You finish first in NA Pro League in the very final season. You come into a whole new environment. And, well, I mean, it hasn't exactly been a walk in the park for SSG so far.
Yeah, it's been an interesting run for Spacestation through this season. It's not the worst thing. I mean, they got into Group A. That's all that really matters in the end. But having the 2-1 over Disrupt, I think a lot of people didn't expect things to come that close. And a lot of people didn't expect Oxygen to take that 2-0 either in the first phase. So it's definitely been different than expectations would suggest. But they've still been looking pretty solid. And I think that a bigger story is less SSG stumbling and more North America as a whole kind of becoming more competitive as time goes on.
Yeah, I think that's indisputable. Even, you know, the bottom teams in North America that we didn't think would have much of a fighting chance on the world stage over the last couple seasons have really showed up big, and I think Disrupt is a great example of that. The matchup between Disrupt and Spacestation, you know, that almost knocked SSG into Group B, literally came down to the very final round, and SSG clutched it out. But I mean, you're gambling on 3 minutes as to whether or not you have a shot at the major or you don't. So today, it's going to be a redemption story for SSG. DarkZero coming in, they're looking like a pretty fine team. They dropped a map to SQ, but they humbled TSM, another top team, as TSM seemingly slid a little bit so far this season. The question for me is going to be, where do we go to the maps? Because this is going to play a huge role between these two teams. And before we get the map veto up, we've got our question on social media, which is going to be, which of these two players is going to be more dominant? It's been rampy for SSG, and Hyper has been the best player statistically in North America this season. They're going to be colliding today in a spectacular showing. Who's going to come out on top? Who's going to be the better player today in the match? Doesn't matter what team wins. Is Hyper going to be better, or is Rampy? Go and vote. You've got the links down below right under my portrait for R6 Esports NA. But then after that, we'll get into the map veto system here. And, well, if you're DZ, you haven't really played a lot of maps. So what are you expecting in this veto system, Michael?
Well, these teams have a long history together, and most of their history is really far back. So I think most of the bans instead will likely be based on what's been happening most recently in Phase 1 and Phase 2 of this season. What information can be drawn will be drawn on, but there's definitely a lot more for DZ to pull on since SSG has played more of those maps, like you mentioned. I'm not really expecting anything too crazy, but I mean, I always like to just kind of take it as it is. In terms of maps for DZ, the only map they haven't really been successful on is Consulate recently, so they'll probably avoid that. SSG will ban it, so they don't have to stress, I suppose. On the side of SSG, there's a little bit more of a concentration on particular maps. Theme Park, Clubhouse, Oregon have been some of their more played maps recently. We'll see what this first pick is as we get underway. It'll be Villa to kick things off here. Space Station has not played Villa yet. DZ has played Villa one time. They played it and won it against TSM.
Yeah, and it was an 8-7 scoreline for DarkZero here on this map. So it was a squeaker, but TSM looked to be a mighty formidable team on Villa through the run that they made at the 6 Invitational. So a good map, obviously, for both teams. Cafe is next on the docket. It has not been played by either team yet so far this season. So we don't have any data coming into it recently in this meta as to how they're going to be played. Clubhouse banned out by DarkZero, and that's unsurprising, seeing as how the two most played maps for Space Station and two of their best maps so far this season have been both Clubhouse and Theme Park. DZ landing a knockout blow on those bans by getting rid of both of them and not having to go to very familiar territory for Space Station. Oregon is the last map removed, as it's been a strong suit for DarkZero and one that they have wanted to play a lot. But, you know, SSG's played it too. That's going to leave Coastline as an all-out brawl with Space Station starting on attack if we need a third map.
So I said that there has been some history with these teams, and if you throw far enough back, you can see it. Back in like March, for example, DZ played SSG in Season 11 of Pro League on Coastline, and DZ managed to win it 7-5. It was a very narrow victory, but it was a victory. Or sorry, not DZ. SSG won it 7-5. It was a very narrow victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. And if you throw far enough back, you can get some kind of information on what might happen in that last map. But let's go to our first map, Villa, to start things off. DarkZero going to be getting on attack, which means SSG will get the first ban, and we'll see where we actually have those operators get banned out. Now, worth noting here, guys, Echo is back in play, which means these defensive bans will look a lot different, and we're going to return to that rigidity that we had when Echo was not auto banned or soft banned or whatever you want to call that. And now this
soft ban is correct.
Yeah, soft ban is technically correct. Hard Destructors and Hard Destructors and Thatcher already banned out. I expect Echo to be banned out as well, but we haven't gotten there yet.
So what we're going to be looking at is we're going to look at a Maverick on every single round, unless we see a change up depending on the bomb site and you see a Thermite get brought. But I'm expecting it to be none other than Maverick and then some kind of soft destructor, likely a Sledge, etc. Your speculation that Echo would get banned? Well, I mean, it's gone. SSG is going to ban the Clash, and Clash is an operator that is extremely powerful when coupled with the Jaeger and Wamai gadget denial / utility soak meta that we've seen recently. It's hard to get through the ADSs and the magnets and then focus on the Clash. Usually at this point, once you manage to take out the ADSs and magnets, you're going to struggle to dispatch the shield operator. Now, we've seen SSG roll out the Clash a couple times on Oregon. In most recent memory, though, we've also seen DZ rely an awful lot on shield ops on both attack and defense. So this will reduce both of the teams to, I would say, a less frustrating defense.
You know, I wonder if Echo is going to get played now that he's not banned. That's the big question, right? He's such a valuable operator if used correctly. And on a lot of these sites, I could see him being very powerful. But this site in particular is actually not one of them. We're going to be going down to Kitchen to start things off. And yeah, Echo could be useful sometimes on this site, but the big worry is that, you know, you're going to bring that IQ and more likely than not, and she could do a lot of work from above once the top player comes out from the attack. So C4 is the play here for the defense. You can see they have brought 3 C4s and a pulse to try and kill players as they clear above them.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Kitchen is an interesting place to see the defenders go, but I mean, like I said, it's every single time we see Villa, it's been a more favored bomb site instead of that trophy statuary above it, just because it gives you that buffer space, which is what I like to refer to it as, and I believe I get paid royalties every time I say that, so I have to continuously refer to it as a buffer space. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So over top of the A bomb site, you'll see the attackers presumably take master and then attack it in a similar way that you would see were it trophy and statuary. Most teams on defense will reinforce the triple panel wall that leads from statuary into master, which it looked like SSG has done as well. They're going to guard it up top, very similarly to as if the bomb chassis was right next to that marble statue, but instead it's going to be Fultz watching the doorway. It's reinforced off. And as DarkZero ascends to go up onto that top floor, there's a pulse down below. Obviously a favorite operator for SSG, especially in Canadian's hands. He's going to sit down there. He's going to be able to watch that bike area. He's going to be able to watch the hallway. He can watch parts of trophy and all of statuary while also holding over towards kitchen. This is a strong place for him to be in, and somebody from DarkZero will eventually be put in a position to duel him, but it won't be for now.
Ooh, Memorial getting pressured from the hallway while Hot and Cold opens up that library wall, or rather, living room wall. Pardon me, laundry wall. There's a lot of L's on this map, Parker, and I happen to be catching one of them. Now, the heartbeat detector is going to get 2 heartbeats outside of laundry. Seeing if he can call that out to his team is likely that information has been relayed. They'll see the defense be a little bit more prepared for whatever comes next. DZ has already set up pretty well for this execution. They've got good control by the laundry side. They've got, I assume, some semblance of control on the top floor, and they've certainly cleared out on the west side. So, actually, no presence upstairs. As you can see, all 5 players from DZ set up to execute into the bomb site horizontally. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Eclipse and Hyper to be successful, and it's not easy for those 2 to make a push there. But look at this. Skies is able to vault on into Bicycle, which means there's no one inside a Memorial on the defense, and that is an added layer to this attack.
There's Canadian swinging, and what a beautiful shot on the Skies with Bosco's shotgun finding Hot and Cold, and DZ find themselves down by 2 with 45 seconds left to go, and they are close to being able to get into the bomb site, but so far have been denied the entry that they want. They're mostly focused on that bottom floor, so any upstairs presence that was being felt has been nullified for now. But Mint is on the case. He'll take out Fultz before Fultz drags down Hyper. Eclipse goes 2. That's a kill for Rampy, and leaves Mint now closing in on the bomb site, looking towards kitchen with soft walls leading him towards the other bomb site. He knows he's got the Jaeger trapped in the corner, but that's 2 for Rampy. He gets the back-to-back final kills, and round number 1 is going to go to Space Station.
Look at this. Rampy is not only pre-firing, he's pre-knifing. The man is ready to receive an opponent there. He knew it was going to happen. Rocking that beta skin, too. Love to see it. Now, nice defense there from SSG, but I gotta critique DZ a little bit more than I would attribute that win to SSG. The problem there was it was a paper-thin attack on every layer, or every facet. No matter how you word it, it was just 1v1s and a lot of them. For example, Skies had managed to make his way into Bicycle, right? And he can pressure into Memorial from there. That's super powerful. He could do a lot of work from that position. You should be able to. But then Canadian, with the absolute mad lad that he is, just decides to peek with the UMP and win on a long-range fight against an 8-cogged L85. Now, he's supposed to lose that, but again, mad lad that he is, he doesn't lose that. So what happens then? Well, ideally for the attack, you'd have one other person with Skies making that push into Memorial, and there'd be a refrag, and then the attack continues. But because Skies is all alone, it's just, okay, well, the attack has lost memo control now, and moving right along. And that eliminates a whole crossfire for the attack. It eliminates a whole avenue for entry to the site, and the defense become more and more comfortable with the fights that they win like this as the round goes on. So it's just a whole lot of that, really. not enough stack up, I'd say, from DZ. I'm also puzzled by the fact that they chose not to play vertically at all. I understand there's the triple C4 to be concerned about and the pulse, but still, it might have been the play in that situation, especially considering they had the sledge. Sometimes you could just dance around the C4. Whatever the case, what we do know, that the play that we did see from DZ was not it.
No, and most of the focus that we saw as well looked to be on that first floor, and I think you noted the triple C4 being a big part of that. And well, if you're bringing a Jaeger and you're bringing a Wamai, and there's lots of nasty setups upstairs, especially involving deployable shields, as we saw Fultz when he was on the Wamai was playing in that particular area. Not only are the magnets going to stop your gadgets, but the shield is going to eat up at least one of them. DZ might have just thought better of going after it and thought, hey, maybe if we just attack the bomb site, take laundry, and then have somebody swing towards kitchen doorway, we might actually be able to catch them off guard and force them to rotate down, especially if DZ was able to drone it out and see that there was very minimal destruction on the floor of that second floor to see down into the bomb sites. Whatever the case may be, that was round one going in favor of SSG. And I know that things have been a little upside down in regards to what maps are attacker favored and defender favored, but Villa has held the distinction of being one of the most defender sided maps for a long period of time. And well, against two teams that are as veteran as SSG and DZ, things might be going back to the norm and we might just see a very defender sided Villa.
We'll see when we get there. That last round, I don't know if it's good enough to really call much off of, just because it played out in a very odd way. But right now, it's to clear the top floor, as you can see, and Bosco will be the first one destroyed by a grenade. Sky is taking down the Wamai of all operators with that name. Beautiful placement. Now, there is Canadian downstairs under statuary, ready to C4 and deny a plant. And as you can see, I think Thinking Nate has rotated into statuary. That's going to be a very powerful position for Thinking Nate, because he can not only hold the push from Master. It's not Thinking Nate, pardon me. It is somebody in statuary, though. And it's Fultz, who, oh no, the patience on Fultz! He sees Skies right in front of him, but he doesn't pull the trigger, and he gets two big kills as a result. He'll be taken down by Mint, and Thinking Nate was actually the one to get the second kill, but that's beside the point. As Canadian adds to the tally, it's all on Eclipse, the last member alive on attack. He'll have to pick up Diffuser and get 3 kills. He'll get 1, but that costs him all of his HP. Good gunplay there from Eclipse, and he's picking up big for his team, but 17 seconds, Thinking Nate and Canadian on full HP, it's just not going to happen. He's being called out by the Valkyrie Cam and the Evil Eye. Goes for the peek. Just a little bit of patience here from the defense. They know there's no reason to take a risk here. And while Eclipse will get a second and will start sticking the plant, Canadian should be able to deny from below, and he'll do just that.
Smart call by Eclipse as he had to go for frags with only 10 seconds left. But there's no way you're going to be able to drop down and pursue the Valkyrie, as Canadian is just going to be hiding. And it would also appear that there must have been a second Valkyrie camera, if not an Evil Eye that was positioned inside of Trophy, as we saw the one cam in Trophy that was looking towards the master door and had some good sights over statuary. And well, Eclipse tried to get rid of it with the breaching round, but it got eaten by an ADS. As I suspect will be the story for most of, well, until Wamai and Jaeger get nerfed or new operators come in, because right now they're so strong together. And it's obvious that DZ is trying to clear it out as best they can, pinpoint where the defense is weak in regards to that, which is a conversation that Lycan had actually had on Twitter a while back, saying that you're not going to stack all your utility up in one bomb site. You're going to want to spread it out as best as you can. And if you're a little bit light in some areas, resourceful teams and, you know, innovative teams are able to clear it out relatively quickly. DZ definitely fits the bill as one of those squads. So SSG takes engagements. Great play from Fultz. He's hiding in what is essentially called a rat corner. Doesn't get droned. DZ doesn't suspect that he's going to be there. It looks like we're going to get a rehost, as there's some problem with Eclipse, obviously, and we'll wait on admin confirmation, as it should come back to us. But everything that SSG did there was strong, but it still came down to a 1v1, and it played off of the fact that Thinking Nade took the engagement that he didn't necessarily need to take inside of Trophy. You also saw that was it Rampy that tried to pursue Eclipse when Eclipse had to grab the diffuser inside of the statuary door. Rampy didn't necessarily need to take that engagement either. He could have waited and been a bit more patient, but I mean, it doesn't matter. It's speculation on our end as to why you take those fights. And if that lead-in video that we saw, Michael, is any example, if SSG's toughest opponent so far this season really has been themselves, essentially throwing a very safe 1v3 down to a 1v1 shouldn't be something that you should be doing, and you kind of got to settle those nerves down.
Yeah, it was definitely a dangerous prospect there, but it, I think, mostly comes down to Eclipse's gunplay. He landed a lot of shots that you wouldn't expect most people to land, so, I mean, you know, good for Eclipse. Ultimately, the information, though, was king in the end. The ability to deny the plant from below. Didn't even need a C4. He had a camera in trophy, no risk necessary. Easy shots from below. 000, so Eclipse can't move. At least the win came out. You know, that's the key, isn't it? I'd say that there's been some really smart plays from SSG so far. There's been some big oversights from DZ as well. I mean, the fact that we saw Smoke stay alive in Statuary for so long, and even avoid getting checked. I'm first of all surprised that Statuary wasn't droned before the entry came out from DZ. Second, I'm surprised it wasn't face checked before the entry came out, or during when the entry was coming out from DZ. I don't know. It was an odd round for the attack. And with those gaps in the attack, you would expect there to be a more definitive result from the defense, certainly, than a 1v1. But still, we are talking about two of the most, I guess, Titan competition teams in North America, two of the closest to each other teams in North America. So the expectation is there for this to come close in a lot of these rounds. And we were actually talking about that in the lead into the matches today, because as mentioned, if you win a single match in Group A, you get a spot in the major. You just get one. That puts you in top 3 for your group, right? And only the fourth position for Group A doesn't get that spot automatically. So if you win today, you get a spot. If you win tomorrow, you get a spot. Or not literally tomorrow, but you know what I mean. And it's crazy to think that one of the teams, DZ, SSG, or TSM, one of those teams won't get one of those spots automatically. They'll have to fight for it later on. And it could be one of these squads today.
You have a very interesting set of circumstances that could unfold. Obviously, TSM is now an outsider looking in, because we'll find our second team that gets the spot here, and then the remaining team, the loser here, will face off against TSM. We could have a DZ rematch in which DZ took it 2-0, or we could have SSG play TSM, and that would be something to behold, given the fact that the last time we saw these teams play each other was the very tail end of Season 11, of which it came down to a battle for first place in North America, which of course SSG came out on top of. Rios decide we'll get back in. Hyper had a cool start to this game. Rampy had 3 kills, so if you're watching that community poll or you're waiting to bet, I don't know if it's over yet, Michael, but if it's not over yet, the leader right now is Rampy, so get your votes in, but obviously things can change here. The one curious thing that you mentioned about droning that I do want to talk about is there's always a lot of talk online after scrims and after matches that these two competitors, DZ and SSG, are notoriously good at droning and hiding what are often referred to as phantom drones. A lot of people have called them DZ drones. They're hidden all over the map. You never know where they are, and they've always got intel on you. Funny circumstance finding ourselves in, where SSG's lineup was Maestro, Valk, Smoke, Wamai, and Jaeger. There's no Mozzie, there's no Mute. Other than simply shooting the drones, there's nothing to stop DZ from having that intel on Fultz in the corner. And obviously, if you put your drones in sloppy places, they're going to get shot. But I am a little confused as to how DZ didn't have that intel on Fultz. I don't think, from what I recall of the round, that Fultz got there at the last minute. I think that he'd just been sitting there and moved from one side of the doorway. Somebody from DZ should have known, and it was an easy 2-piece for Fultz, based on some negligence from DarkZero.
All right, so clear north side to south for DZ as they attempt to attack Aviator. Now, it's been a trophy kitchen defense so far, which is kind of like, I guess they've been doing a reverse site selection here for SSG, or reverse to the typical, and it's been working. Actually, like doing that myself. I mean, it's a fun way to try and throw things on their head. And SSG now going to what is considered to be a fairly strong site on Villa. Let me look at the stats. It actually is, yeah, so this is the strongest site on Villa, Aviator Game Room. It's got about a 50% win rate for the defense, which is higher than most of the other sites. Now, Living Library has a 67%, but it's only been played 3 times, so that doesn't really count. Now, of course, these stats are gonna change. They often do, but it's just worth keeping in mind. One thing that's interesting about this is normally what you see when you're holding top main for the defense is a 90 hold to support the top main hold. But instead of that, SSG has put 2 players at top main and a shield to protect from 90. That's a very odd setup, but it's, I guess you could call it conservative.
I'm still, because it's been best of 3s, I feel like there's been a lot of map diversity. You know, when I was looking at the data on the maps before we got into this matchup, there was very little alignment when it came to these teams playing maps. So there wasn't a lot of draw off of, you know, and Coastline showed up as a decider, but wasn't played. So neither of these teams have played this map, and it's the decider again today, so it might not get played as well. Cafe shows up, hasn't been played by either team. Obviously, the map bans worked out quite well, and I mean, worked out quite well with both of the teams taking out maps that they were either weak on or they knew that their opponents were quite strong on. In terms of DZ, being able to knock out both Theme Park and Clubhouse seems like a big win from a map veto standpoint, as these are the 2 most played maps from Space Station and also happens to be 2 of their best, especially Clubhouse being SSG's definitive best map in the map pool, at least if you talk to their opponents about it. So it's hard to really judge this, but it's been a very sluggish round. There's 20 seconds left. There's the first kill. It's going to come out from Fultz, immediately traded off by Mint, who's upside down on Repel. Canadian finds one of his own on the skies. 10 seconds left for DarkZero to push on in. The objective is theirs to complete. Down goes Eclipse to Thinking Nade, and tapping away from inside a vault is the SMG-11 Rampy with one of his own, and it's a plant in the middle of the smoke for Hyper, but you can see the light is fading and will fully go out of focus. Canadian with that kill, and it's 3 in a row from Space Station. They complete the trifecta, as we have dubbed it, and will now open back up the kitchen bomb site down below.
That's a good hold there for SSG, but really just some, I don't know, lethargy. We fall back on that word a lot, but it's applicable here. As DZ set up all around the bomb site, they gained the control they thought they needed, and then what are they doing with 20 seconds left in the round? Not really much. So it was a weird attack. The clear came in from Master side. They got the control they wanted. They didn't use 90, just weird. They could have disabled vaults, which would have been ideal with the Maverick. Instead, they sent their Maverick over to study, and that Maverick opened up a hole in the aviator wall. Just, okay, I get it, but that hole didn't actually end up doing anything. Because there's only at that point, I'd say like 30 seconds left in the round. And the Maverick then tried to apply pressure to top main, but they hadn't taken top main yet. So Maverick sprints into top main, assuming it'll be clear. It's not. SSG starts off the kill feed. Then the rest of the, I guess, you know, skirmish or brawl, you could call it really, ensues in the site. It's really just DZ throwing their bodies into the site and hoping to win the gunfights. Gas canisters, C4s, the like start coming out from SSG. It's absolute pandemonium in Aviator, and it's an easy lockout for the defense. And I don't really know what else to say. The biggest problem for me in that round was that DZ didn't really employ any kind of, you know, conceivable strategy that's going to disrupt the hole for SSG. Not in a meaningful way. The holes in the wall, sure. The clearing out around the site, sure. There's so many other opportunities to actually put pressure on the anchors.
Where the lake meets the land, sure.
Dead to me.
I hope people get that one.
I got it. So
I got, you know, when we were in
just
rehearsals today before we get into round 4, I do want to say this just because is all of the jokes so far from NA, everybody, they've been excellent. I love Jesse's dry humor. Veli has been a mad lad so far. I've enjoyed it very much. I would like to see Jackie Jing roast both Jesse and Veli more, because I think she's uniquely suited to do that, and it would be great, and I think it would humble them a little bit, you know?
Canadian's getting his C4 back, by the way.
Yes, so people don't understand if it's out of reach, you can shoot the wood around it and the C4 falls, and that's exactly what Canadian is doing, and there it goes. Plop.
Yep. Now he can C4 again. Big brain.
Yep. Big brain, and he could have gotten skies at 90 as well. Right now, a lot of discovery work from DZ. This team was referred to as quite methodical by the analysts prior to, and well, that same methodology of how they attack hasn't really been netting them the results that they want. They lose another opening duel. It's Bosco who prevails over Hot and Cold. Skies gets one back onto Rampy. That's the Jaeger that was playing off site. There goes Canadian. The Pulse is not going to be able to get up the stairs as Skies pivots and just absolutely shreds through the Pulse. And that Pulse in particular, Michael, is going to be a massive loss as we look at the remaining minute or so of this round, because you know how good Canadian is at his calling, and you know how important that C4 is, as well as the cardiac sensor that are no longer available.
C4 thrown up there by Bosco, and he has no one to detonate it on right now. You can see DZ mostly trying to stay on the hard floor where they can't die to a C4 from below. I like that DZ are adapting their strategy. We talked about how important this top floor clear is on kitchen defense, and that's exactly what DZ are doing in an attempt to get their very first attack round. It's so far worked out pretty well thanks to the efforts of Skies and the missed C4s from SSG. There's still time for it to fail, though, as the first C4 that will hit its target detonates. Hyper goes down. It's a big loss for DarkZero as he hit the last 25 seconds.
Fultz is off site and creeping up, and if you don't have somebody watching on flank here, this might be the undoing of DarkZero. Skies tosses out a pocket frag, and he'll have to drop at some point as he looks at all of his accomplishments upstairs and the damage that's been done. But there's the flank watch of Skies. He picks up his third kill. He's on a heater right now. Eclipse dropped from Bosco, so it's a 2v2. But DZ will need to complete the objective. 4 from Skies. He's heating up, but thinking Nate is inside of the bomb site. Is he safe for now? It'll be Skies to watch as Mint gets the plant down. There goes Skies, no ace, and a run-up from Thinking Nate. He'll clutch a huge play as Space Station undefeated so far on Villa. 4-0 as the diffuser will get taken down before some celebratory body shots from Thinking Nate. My goodness, SSG looks pretty good so far.
Okay, a lot to unpack there. First of all, though, the real hero, the unsung hero, I'd say, of that round, and let's sing the praises, I guess, are the roamers for SSG on the top floor. Because why did DZ choke that in the end? They choked that in the end because they were feeling pressured on time. They didn't have the same versatility they would like to have. They were definitely taking a push in a haphazard way. And why is that? It's entirely due to the restrictions of time. And that is because of the roam upstairs. So, well done to that roam on the top floor, not only getting the first pick and the only kill for a while that SSG even managed to get, but also just for delaying the round. The C4s also played a major factor. I'm surprised that a C4 was landed with the Pulse already eliminated in that round. That's a blind C4 more likely than not, and that's impressive stuff for SSG as well. I think that was Thinking Nades. No, I'm not 100% sure. And
the C4 was Thinking Nades, yes.
Yeah, so there you go. And following that C4, lots of soft destruction for DZ. It's actually looking pretty good. Skies is on an absolute heater, as you said, Parker, and I agree. Gets a quad kill, almost brings it all the way for his team, but just at the end, Thinking Nade manages to clean that up. So, really good delay upstairs for SSG. Nice holdout in the site for Thinking Nade. I gotta be impressed by Thinking Nade in that 2v1. He took the available 1v1 because he knew his opponent was planting. And why is that? Again, 000, not enough time.
It was also an inhuman shot from Thinking Nade onto Skies. Skies with the ACOG. For so long, Skies had protested running ACOG, by the way. It actually became a meme within the community as to his vocal opposition of that site, but now that he's playing on Sledge, he had it equipped, and while he was holding the doorway, long angle onto Thinking Nade peeks and just sprays him down. Honestly, we've seen this a lot in every single region, but North America, I think, has probably been the biggest focus of it, especially with some of the players on United and Disrupt benefiting from this, but it's just the blind gameplay without a drone. Yes, when you drone somebody in, you expect them to play well off of that information, and you know how good DarkZero's comms are, and I would imagine that they probably focused on droning out Canadian, as you can see a drone at the feet of none other than Skies, who will pick up his 5th kill in the past round and a bit. It could have possibly netted a 6th against Rampy, as right now it looks like Skies is unstoppable, but Rampy goes through the basement. This is his signature roaming spot, by the way, and he'll look to try to get back to the site with his life intact.
Rampy's just going to chill underneath Skies right now, and he has managed to evade the drone pattern. Now, here's the thing about Villa. Droning the bottom floor, laborious as heck. It's a serious pain. So if you actually want to drone that bottom floor, you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. And as you've all seen through this map, there isn't much time to use if you're an attacker. So spending it on clearing out underneath, I mean, it's better to have somebody on flank watch and just be prepared for it, or not anyone exposed to the roamer downstairs in the first place. In this case, Skies is, but he's just chilling underneath, waiting for the right call, waiting for one of his teammates to say, okay, nade underneath here. And that's exactly what DZ's trying to do. They're trying to get the information for Skies so he can nade. Here it comes. He cancels it. Would have been the perfect nade, actually. He'll see that one when he reviews the VOD. And the second one goes out. Oh, on the other side of the wall. That's unfortunate.
Not even a single point of damage done to Thinking Nade there, and that must be some frustration on the part of Skies. As well, he's still got one left, and he's going to be down below while the rest of the team tries to pull this off up top. And it's very important, given the fact we had seen both Bosco and Rampy try playing off-site in previous rounds, that you have somebody on that dedicated flank watch, and Skies has been magnificent in that role. He'll now set up some drones just for his own information, as through those Maverick holes opened up, the Maestro will shrug off a bit of damage, Thinking Nade had only 1 HP. The advance from DarkZero has been thwarted by this hard wall, so they're going to have to head on in through the doorways and pick fights along the way. What little was left of Thinking Nade is gone. That's Mint as the culprit, hot and cold with 1 as Mint goes down to Bosco. So DZ in a 4v2. This is the best opportunity they've had, but a crossfire caught as it's a reload and poor timing from Bosco. That'll leave Rampy in a 1v3 with tons of information. If DarkZero isn't able to hunt him down, he could stop this plant that's going off from hot and cold. But there's a drone underneath him. He finds Ash looking for more. The objective goes down, so the timing is now on the side of DarkZero, and Rampy will have to heat up in a 1v2. But he'll be walking up right into the waiting arms of the Zofia of Hyper, and the two men who our Twitter poll is about will finally do battle, with Hyper coming out on top. DarkZero take their very first round. They've got one more left on attack before the side swap.
Big round there for DZ, and yeah, if they can net 2, they're looking solid. But SSG is going to be changing up their site. They'll go to Aviator Games, which is just unlocked, and they'll try to put this in 5-1. It was a chance. There was a chance there for SSG, or Rampy specifically, to deny the plant from below, but he didn't know about that. Clearly, there was no camera in Trophy this time, and that, of course, is going to, well, cost you in a round like that. Those late denials from below have been big for SSG through this first half. Now, the overall attack there, I like what DZ did. Well, they consolidated their forces inside a Master. I love the changes that DZ keep bringing out. You know, the kitchen attack, for example, where they decide, okay, yeah, second time charm, we're going to go and soft destruct from above. That's the right call. Definitely the right call. And it almost worked. It just didn't in the very end. And then in that last round, where last time they were clearing out from the south to the north to attack into Trophy Statuary. This time they went from the Master side and they put limited forces downstairs. They had some nice nades that just ended up not landing on anyone because there was no one there, or because of a hard wall. Good job, Disguise. And in the end, the Astro push, where there were, what was it, 3-4 attackers coming through into Astro, that ended up working out great for DZ. So the adjustments from DarkZero have been impeccable. However, it's still a 4-1 scoreline. SSG has just been better so far through this first half.
And I want to focus a little bit on that frag grenade that got tossed in from hot and cold on the opening into Master. It was from the Master wall over towards the doorway that leads into Astronomy, you know, at the back of Statuary. And why I think that was such a successful nade is that coincidentally, the player from Spacestation who was playing in that spot was Thinking Nade. And when the frag grenade got tossed out, the Maestro had 2 choices: stay there or die. This also happened to be timed perfectly with the advance that DZ was making onto the Astro part just off-site. So when you had Thinking Nade move over, and when you had the Wamai as well move over, who got caught, which I believe was Bosco, you ended up in a position where 2 members of SSG got forced out by 1 frag grenade, and while the grenade didn't kill anybody, DZ did. It's worth noting for people that watch that sometimes the objective of your frag grenade isn't necessarily to get a kill. It could be to take out a deployable shield, push somebody back into the waiting arms of another member of your team, etc. And it's very easy to write off a thrown frag grenade as being poor if it doesn't kill somebody, but that's not always the case.
Ooh, look at this utility dump at the top of main. SSG is shrugging it off. They've still got Wamais here. The shield will persist, but finally, it gets taken care of. That was dangerous, though. They were coming down to the ends of their ropes with utility. All they have left explosive-wise now are Ash charges and 2 grenades on Skies. You can see every operator on the attack brought a piece of kit to deal with shields, to deal with Evil Eyes, to deal with whatever is necessary. And, well, that's smart considering the setup we saw from SSG. But what has just happened there is 2 minutes spent for the attack, thanks to the defensive setup, and then also just a plethora of utility.
And this is where things are really going to get interesting, because on the line is a massive advantage for SSG. 4-2 is pretty much what we come to expect on a lot of maps, so that's very winnable for DarkZero. And if they win their very first defense when they do side swap, this match is far from over. It could be a real, it could be a real kick to the derriere, if we want to say this, of DZ if SSG manages to pull off another victory on a bomb site that so far SSG is perfect on, albeit the sample size of 1. And this is, of course, DarkZero map as well. 30 seconds left, so things will have to start to pick up, and it will once again be on the shoulders of DarkZero as they mount their very final attack. And could it be falling on its face? Well, Rampy manages to do some good work on Skies with Eclipse on the refrag. SSG gets that opening duel. Immediately waiting on the flank is none other than the man of the hour himself. They spring into the bomb site trying to take up as much control as possible, but they are getting swatted away like flies right now as SSG clobbers DarkZero, and Mint has nothing left to do. He has nowhere to go. He's trapped just by the study door. It's SSG up 5-1 now. What a walloping on the first half.
This is looking pretty one-sided right now, Parker, but there is still chance for DZ to make a resurgence on the second half as they switch to defense. They'll be a little bit more comfortable, hopefully for their sake. Now, that last round was kind of interesting. You guys all saw the really unfortunate timing for Eclipse. By landing, he's pushing into the site. He knows someone's going to come from his flank, but he just doesn't have time. And how many rounds has that been the overarching story for the attack, for DarkZero? Not enough time. They keep having to rush in the dying seconds of the round, beating gas canisters, C4s, SAS shotguns, and just struggling to win their fights. And rightfully so. In those scenarios, it should be the defense that take the win. It's due to typically the lethargy or the inefficiency of the attacking team, right? In this case, it's been a lot of things. I wouldn't call it either of those in that last round, at least. Just because SSG haven't been slowed on the uptake. They've been doing, or rather, DZ haven't been slow on the uptake, pardon me. They have been doing their darndest to clear out the utility. For example, top main stairs. Half, if not more, of the explosive and flashes and all the utility that you use to get rid of things like shields was used on the top of main stairs. Now, I know that is good on SSG for enacting such a tall price to get entry to top main, but it's necessary. DZ recognizes that, and they dump their utility in as quick as they can. Once they've got that control, though, not much comes of it. They do need it in order to attack into study, but the attack after that is greatly hindered by the lack of utility, and that is stifling. I don't know if DarkZero is going to be able to do the same thing to SSG on the second half, but the way that the defense has been bleeding the attack is pretty interesting, and it's mostly coming down to time a lot of these rounds because of that.
It's been a stifling defense, as I think probably the best way to put it when you look at the time management. And DZ struggled really hard to be able to get on into the building and then know what to do next. And the mound is essentially where a lot of these pushes died. Now, from our viewpoint, some of that goes to SSG just rotating mid-round, aggressively holding on flanks and forcing DarkZero to try to expend some of their brain power to that. Is the opening picks were eluding DZ. They only got 2 of the 4, or 2 of the 6 rather, to the 4 for SSG. So not being able to open that up is obviously a massive problem on their end, and shows to either a lack of communication or a lack of confidence, I think, DarkZero on their entry. But if we look at the way that DZ is setting up their defense now, they're defending kitchen as well, down below. But they had put some reinforcements over on the library side of things. And by doing so, it looks like their second floor hold is not going to be quite as important. And right as we say that, Skies falls off and comes back towards the bomb site, which has now given SSG carte blanche to be able to take that top floor. Now there's going to be nitro cells, as we see literally from Eclipse as he tosses one up, and it's about a second too late to claim somebody from SSG. But regardless, DZ have now consolidated all of their forces down on that first floor. They're going to hold off and just watch the openings, and it's going to allow SSG to set up upstairs, as Rampy hasn't even swung his hammer yet. And now he's going to be able to do some damage. Things could get tough for DZ, but you've got a minute to play with for SSG. You have to be very quick and very precise as to how you take this top floor control and how you hold it, because Canadian's going to have to get that diffuser down at some point.
Well, if this works out the way that it did for SSG when they were on defense, then it should be a pretty solid defense for DZ. Things start well enough for the defense as Skies will get the first pick. That was by the main stairs, as you can see, or by red stairs, pardon me. That pick will put DZ in a good position, although they haven't taken the round yet. Potentially another pick in just a second, but for some reason Eclipse does not shoot the player on Repel and allows another player, Canadian, to come up the storage stairs. Now SSG has not only an even man count, but a good position to attack the site from. A lot of pressure on Mint to land shots with the UMP, and he'll land some, but not enough for the kill. He'll get pushed back by the explosives up below, or up above, rather. The C4 goes out and will deny the entry into the site, but Bosco's there. Hot and Cold, though, downing Bosco's. He makes the entry. It's now all on Thinking, who also dies to Hot and Cold. Just that crack in the smoke, allowing the line of sight for him to hold on to that site by himself.
Hot and Cold really holding down the fort is, well, for SSG, I don't think they got the map control on that second floor that they wanted. They weren't able to fully punish DZ and hold them off. And for those of you that might be relatively new and understand or not understand why that second floor control is so important, it's because as you open up the floor below you, it's also, fun fact, the ceiling above the defenders, and they can't play in the same default spots. And when you look at a map like Villa, you know roughly the areas at which the defenders are going to play. Hot and Cold spot by the bomb chassis and the overturned table, very common. Somebody playing in the kitchen by the doorway leading out to the hallway, also quite common. Somebody playing over maybe towards pantry, also can be quite common when you're looking at the way that they try to hold these bomb sites. And you know that somebody is going to be over in one of the adjacent rooms to the bomb sites as well. And that's exactly why Rampy's focus as Sledge was to try and make life as uncomfortable for those defenders as possible. I wasn't sold on that round for Space Station in regards to how they were able to apply that pressure to the defenders, because Hot and Cold, I don't think, moved for the final 40 seconds, with the exception of maybe strafing left or right around the smoke that was tossed in. That leads me to believe that the upstairs wasn't exactly held the way that SSG would have wanted. And like I said, and like you've pointed out, when it was SSG on defense and DZ on attack, the attackers are really struggling to be able to work the clock on this map. Obviously, that goes towards the fact that it's a defender-sided map. Obviously, goes towards, as we talk about it, the checklist that teams need to go through. What rooms and what roams you drone out, and how you're able to force off the defenders that are playing upstairs. And Space Station might have struggled because there was a vigil on the board, sure, but they had that top floor control for I think a lot longer than they knew, and they weren't really able to make anything work with it. So with that round in the books, we look towards library and living room. A bomb site that hasn't been shown yet on Villa. It is infrequently played as well, but it's going to be an aviator defense upstairs with the bomb site being down below. And of course, a team like DarkZero is going to be primed and ready for some kind of cheeky strats on a bomb site that we don't see all that often.
So this is the most defender-sided bomb site statistically from the few times we've seen Villa played in the US division. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to actually be a defender-sided bomb site in this round. I think it's only been played 3 times. This will be the 4th, so that's not a lot of stats to really pull on. It doesn't mean a whole lot. Keep that in mind. Now, oh no, Bosco's gonna have to, what, drop? That's unfortunate. He just lost half of his ability, and that actually this does have a long cooldown. But at least he gets the information he wants over by landing. That's going to be hyper playing on the shield. So he can call that out to his team at the very least. Now, yeah, the top floor clear here for SSG is going to be the focus, because those holes that are made in the gun vault can deny any pressure into A, and the holes that are made over in games can deny a lot of the pressure that could be applied to B. So it is a necessity to clear above if you're the attackers right now, and that's not going to be very easy. This is what Parker was talking about just now. When it comes to time, things are looking really desperate. But that right there is Skies, a little overzealous in the main hallway, getting eliminated by Fultz over by Piano. Good pick there for SSG.
Given how much teams have talked about going up a 4v5 or going up a 5v4 rather in their perspective, and how vital that is to the utility that's brought, that right there could be the trumpet sounding on this round for DarkZero, especially when you look at the operator and the player. Hard pressed to find somebody who's had greater contributions over the 7 rounds, now 8 rounds, as we look for DarkZero in terms of Skies. And of course, Wamai means that you're going to have less utility available too, because the magnets will continue to recharge. But don't write them off just yet, as I might be doing a bit too prematurely, as 2 members of SSG are sent to an early grave, one from Hyper and one from Eclipse. So SSG loses the Nomad, loses the Yana, and it looks like they'll lose a third in terms of Canadian as he gets swung on by the pump action shotgun of DarkZero, and he'll need to get picked back up. Flash goes out from the Buck just to try and deal some damage, as Toxic Gas will also hold off Rampy from being able to do anything more. He could be the next target as they'll look to fight, but no, Rampy swings on hot and cold. He gets pounced on from the back, Hyper credited with 2 kills as he gets the downed Canadian, leaving us into a 2v1. Fultz has been phenomenal in certain rounds, but he's got a mighty tall task ahead of him. He'll have to go for the plant with the clock on 0, and DarkZero should be able to swarm him with Eclipse credited with the final kill. 3 rounds now for DarkZero as they mount a comeback, and they've got 3 of the final 4 rounds in their back pocket.
So it's been the Defender's story on Villa. Really, that's the main takeaway from what we are seeing so far. We haven't had SSG win an attack just yet. So they went 5-1 in the first half. A single attack around 1. That's rough stuff for both teams, to be honest. And it really is the same story over and over again. As every single time, these rounds are coming down to 4v4, 5v5, something along those lines. And the attack trying to plant the objective, but they don't have enough manpower to cover, or there's a piece of utility from the defense to deny that objective going down, or they've got a line of sight that the attackers can't really challenge. And on top of all that, it's like 2 seconds left in the round. That seems to be the story every single time. Again, it's the 20-second meta rearing its head there, I guess, on Villa, between these squads at least. This is not always the case, mind you. It's not always, we don't always get matches that play out like that. It's not always like this. I think a big part of that is the Thatcher and Habana ban, because you're talking about one of the most well, currently the quickest hard breacher, the safest hard breacher, where you can get those walls open from a distance. You don't have to take a risk personally, exposing yourself to C4s, for example. You could just go ahead and try to open the wall and go for it. So you're talking about one of those hard breaches gone, that Habana. Ace is not in play right now. You cannot bring him, so he doesn't factor in. You have to open up the walls kind of old-fashioned with Thermite. And then on top of that, are you really opening walls? Well, not a whole lot with the Thatcher ban. So what are you doing? Well, you're not bringing Thermite, you're bringing Maverick instead. And the most he can open is these tiny little holes that really haven't amounted to anything meaningful in this match so far.
Yeah, I feel like we are starting to see I don't want to say a reemergence of the 20-second meta, but given how some of these maps are playing out over the last, 6 play days, well, I guess more than that, technically, if you also count Europe and you also count, Canada Division and APAC and all that jazz, is that the attackers have just decidedly gotten more aggressive. And this is a discussion that I think is worth having, is at what point do you just get so much utility that the game becomes less complex, because you say, let's just avoid it and rush into the bomb site or take engagements, or if you're on defense, maybe try to take a gunfight, and it plays in once again to how important it is to get that opening pick.
Yeah, Parker, I'd say that we passed that point a long time ago. I'll be completely honest. I've been talking about that for years, is that, like a big part of those aggressive plays, a big part of people trying to just go for the assertive dominance in a gunfight is just, if we get rid of that one player, we cut through all the, for lack of a better word, all the utility. And then, yeah, we could just play our game off of that. And it's a time-saving maneuver, which, when time is currency, I guess a cost-saving maneuver. And it often will be what you see. It's especially prevalent in ranked. For example, like if you ever played high-level ranked, I mean, why do people do that? Why are they getting that aggressive? Well, because everyone has a laser beam and you've got a lot of ammo. But also because if you cut away one player, then maybe they won't get your Evil Eyes. Maybe you get the Thatcher and they won't be able to get your batteries. Maybe it's one or another piece of utility, nades, what have you. It doesn't matter. It's all the same story. There's so much. Every operator is flush with utility. And if you cut one down, then maybe it wins you the whole round. And it's always been like that with some operators, like Thermite, but if you go far enough back. But it's like every operator now, even Ash. Right. Anyway, sorry.
Well, nothing to apologize for, as there really hasn't been all that much to dive into other than the jostling that's happened over on the Classical Hall and Classical top of stairs, and over towards 90 too, as that part of the map has been heavily contested. It's been Eyes who's been holding down that deployable shield and hasn't been moved just yet. He's in a great spot. On rappel on window is Fultz, who'd been softened up earlier, trying to take out some semblance of that vault wall. Down goes Canadian, is one for Hyper and then one for Fultz. 2. Technically, DarkZero gets that opening pick, even though it is just immediately traded right off. A ton of noise going out now as you'll see some smokes from Bosco. He's not running frag grenades on Yana. He's trying to cleave the site in half.
10 seconds remaining.
There's one for Hyper. 10 seconds left. Slow push. Not exactly the climax that you were looking for. Another for Bosco. A third. My goodness, as he just rushes on in. 3 kills for SSG.
Oh.
Pistol out. 4 kills in total for Spacestation. 3 for Bosco. They're getting the plant off. Down goes Fultz as Skies is in a 1v2, but he's not going to be able to outduel Thinking Nade. SSG breaks the streak that DarkZero was on. 3 huge kills for Bosco. 5 in total for SSG as they clean up with the diffuser down, and match point now for Spacestation.
I feel like Bosco hurt us, Parker, because that round was a perfect example of what the heck we were talking about. What happened there? Well, SSG lost the time game and they lost the utility game. They had almost no options in that round. The denial on the defuse plant, or the attempted defuse plant, was perfect from DZ. So assuming the round continues to play out like that and nobody gets wild on SSG, DZ will win that round. But what happens? Bosco gets wild. The man just pushes into sight and just wins gunfights. There's nothing else going on there. He's like, oh, I'm going to rush. I'm going to rush and I'm going to cover my planter and I'm going to make sure we get that diffuser down. I was in the middle of that round. I was prepared to say, wow, respect to SSG. That was probably the best attack we've ever seen. Even the ones that were won were not quite as good as that. Really succinct. I love the way they were playing the utility game, getting into the site, starting to go for that plant. And it sucks that they lost it. But because Bosco just said, heck it, shift W, into sight, take fight, take fight, take fight, covering success on all of those gunfights, they win the round. SSG takes the round, and now they're on map point because of that. So props to Bosco, first of all. And second of all, again, I couldn't have asked for a better example of what we were discussing just moments prior. What do you do when you lose the utility game? You get wild, you take a fight. You don't have any other choice. And it is exactly what you said, Parker. It's when the utility becomes so deep that people decide they don't want to play that game anymore, and they skip over it.
Bosco is inside of the bomb site. He just starts swinging on him as all of DarkZero had shoved back towards bar, shoved back towards classical, and well, as they were all scrambling to try and answer SSG's take, which Thinking Nade was able to get the diffuser down by the default spot behind the vault, DZ just seemed bewildered. I mean, if we look at the positioning of all the members of DarkZero, I think there's 2 options right now as to what they were doing when we're discussing this. Number one, they were caught mid-rotate with their pants down, so to speak, and, well, that was SSG just in the right place at the right time. Or DZ had no idea what the play was from Space Station, and as you said, things get wild, and how you respond is particularly important. I think that's an exothermic charge off, by the way, in the art vault downstairs. It looked like there was going to be some impact tricking, but it's been completely opened up, and this is a very similar defense that we saw from DarkZero last time they attacked Kitchen. Now, this is not a library, living room defense. So Hot and Cold is going to stay in his position, trying to play off of what Intel, Canadian, and Thinking Nade are going to throw at him, as they'll toss 2 drones and now a 3rd drone as well. And Canadian will be the man to try and punish the Valkyrie, who's playing on the spot.
So it looks like they want to open up the other wall, too, in the hallway. Now, they can do that because they've droned this out, but they haven't droned out top of red stairs. And there's 1 defender on the memo wall, too. There's no exothermic potential here. Skies and Eclipse are ready to punish the thermite should he try to open the wall. And it's actually got to rotate in it, so there's no need. Hot and Cold, the longer he stays alive, the better for DZ, but Canadian will get Eclipse, who peeks into the hallway. Hodden with a nice flank there. There's not enough manpower by the breach. Hodden will get down, so it costs him, but the aggression in the end paying off overall for DZ as they managed to delay this round further. And as we've talked about, that time is a major factor for the attack. Now, all full HP on SSG as they gain control of the periphery of the site. DZ, on the other hand, Skies is low. Hyper does have a stim, but obviously not in a position to use it right now. So slight advantage here for SSG, and he should be able to stim up his teammate in just a few seconds. Oh,
providing that's what he's going to do rather than use it on himself, as you're going to need to use it on Skies. Mint, as you noted, is the only one that's actually playing on the bomb site. Hyper and Skies are above, and they'll try to head back down. Down goes Mint, so urgency now in the shoulders of DarkZero. There's nobody watching the site, and Space Station look to have this one locked out. Down goes Skies. Hyper will be knocked on over. Thinking Nate almost getting the plant down, so the Doc will need to do some excellent work in a 1v3, and he sprays through onto what he thinks the default spot is, but, well, there's nobody home. He'll manage to outduel Rampy, so it's still winnable, but you've got a deadline as it's going to hit 35 seconds left. This is a great spot to be in if you're Space Station. As you know, there's only one doorway that Hypers will walk through, and he's going to lose part of that. What a beautiful shot on a Thinking Nade. He'll outduel with Bosco, the man of the hour. This is for the match. He'll try to stick the plan as Bosco doesn't have frag grenades. He'll wait to try to draw out the Yana, but he doesn't know where he's coming from. 15 seconds left. You only need to kill a tiny bit of time, and you're almost there. There it is! Bosco clutched the previous round. He'll clutch this one. Map number 1, DarkZero's map. It goes to Space Station, who will now be up 1-0 as they look towards their map to close out the series.
Well, that's really big there if you're SSG. DZ wanted to be on Villa, and it didn't look like it in the gameplay. So, massive win for SSG. They're looking solid. They'll be going to Cafe for map number 2. If we get to map number 3, it'll be Coastline. But with that kind of a victory, I'm expecting Cafe to still be SSGs. I mean, it's a similar map in some ways with some of the typical attacker-defender kind of tropes that you get into with like how strategic it is and whatnot. Cafe is kind of in line with Villa in that sense. It's a little bit less played out than Villa, but it's still got that same kind of mentality. So I think SSG are got to be feeling pretty comfortable.
The two most strategic maps that we're going to see in this series are 1 and 2. Coastline is going to be a bit more of a free-for-all if we make it there, as you pointed out. But Space Station have a lot on the line now as you look towards their map. But before we get to it, there's going to be some brief analysis and a commercial break. So don't touch your browser. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, I'm Jackie Jing, and I'm with Veli and Jesse, and map 1, Villa going to SSG 7-2-3. Jesse, we gotta talk about that last round there. Hyper popping off. Oh man, I thought he was gonna have it, but just not enough in the end. But I know that round 10 really stood out to you, so let's pick it apart. Come on, Jesse.
Okay, I mean, there's a lot that went wrong, I'd say, for DarkZero in that final 3v3, right? First of all, you've got your Vigil roaming up top, you've got your dock and castle down on the bomb site. You choose to rotate the dock up with the Vigil up the astronomy stairs, so now you're leaving the castle alone all by himself to hold down that bomb site. It's a lot of pressure being put on your castle, and he immediately gets naded. Now these roamers who have just run up astronomy stairs need to somehow scramble back into the bomb site. Spacestation has control of kitchen at this point, and it's basically over. It was a miracle run from Hyper. He almost made an impossible round go the way of DarkZero, but it didn't happen. I mean, ultimately it's an unfortunate call, right, to rotate those two players up. I didn't like it when it happened, and obviously, you know, it led to them losing the map. But when a call like that gets made, you have to just commit to it, and whatever happens, happens, and they tried it and it failed. And it is an unfortunate one to see, because this was a pretty defender-sided map, and that's one that I think DarkZero just kind of let slip away from them.
And you know what, Jesse? One thing that I was kind of expecting, okay, if you're going to leave Castle as your last line of defense on the site, you would think that they would have some type of protection. There is no Jaeger, no Amai, there is no protection against any type of throwables. And when you have one of my favorite operators, right, left on the site, you have to have some type of protection, because that UMP is not going to hold back anybody from Spacestation Gaming from running in. We all saw the result of that.
Belly, I do want to talk to you about Canadian. In those early rounds in particular, you know, you were jokingly calling him the king of intel. So, you know, while we were watching, there's definitely a reason for that. So please elaborate.
Okay, I'm not in the comms of DarkZero, right? But it looked like they were playing around Canadian. I don't know if that was a thing or if it wasn't, or if it just worked out that way for Space Station. But round one, Canadian, he had pulse. That came in extremely big for the simple fact that he was alive for the entirety of the round, just about, I believe the whole round. But also, he was there gathering intel for the defenders, all right? He called out one player that was coming towards him, won that 1v1, and continued helping his teammates with callouts. Now, the reason why that's so important is because his teammates were winning every 1v1 that round. The second round, when they went upstairs, there was no pressure in bedroom. Why? I don't know. Maybe they saw Canadian underneath. They didn't hunt him down, and Canadian was free. You saw him with C4s and just all types of damage from down below. I'm really surprised that DarkZero didn't hunt him down before they went in the site, and Canadian gave his team a big boost because of that.
Yeah, it really felt like for the first 3 rounds of this map, like DarkZero had almost no idea what was going on. They didn't seem to have a great like strategy, and it has to be something that they saw on Space Station's like setup. Maybe it was Canadian, maybe it was something else that just threw them off. Because there's no way DarkZero went into their kitchen attack and was like, all right, we're not gonna clear the roamers. We're gonna take 5 1v1s, and we're maybe gonna win them. Like, there's no way that was the strat. So something had to have gone wrong with DarkZero, I think, in those early rounds. They did claw back a little bit, I think, on their attacking half even, but yeah, they definitely didn't look like themselves when they started this map.
And talking about the map, Jesse, I know that this map pick really stuck out to you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you know, flex here, big brain. You've collected an extensive history of how these teams have performed against each other on this map, so take it away.
Yeah, I mean, they played Villa at the Invitational, they played it at Pro League Season 11, and they played it at the USN Finals, and it was a 7-5 at the Invitational for Space Station, a 7-5 for DarkZero at Season 11, and then it was an 8-7 at USN for Space Station. So, like, I built this map up, I'm like, alright, we're going to Villa, this is where I want to be, this is going to be a neck-and-neck game. And then it kind of disappointed me, and I don't know if that's kind of just where the meta has shifted to. I think a lot of it is just because the attackers in general were really struggling to find rounds, so we were kind of seeing like 2 one-sided halves. A lot of that is just like, I think the attackers were really struggling with the utility. You know, Parker said it best, where it's like you waste a whole bunch of time, and then you try to push, but you don't have man advantage, or you don't have like a piece of utility off of the board that you really, really need. So it's like attacks were really having a hard time on Villa. And I think a lot of that can just be to how these teams have developed and also to how the meta has developed. But yeah, no, I don't know. I was kind of pumped when I saw Villa come up in the map pool. Then I was a little sad.
All right, well, we'll see if Cafe is any better, y'all. But I do really quickly want to talk about round 4.
Oh, man.
I can't hear.
I think she's crashed or something.
I think so, but you know what? I think she was bringing up Thinkinade. And there's one thing I would just like to say. Thinkinade, That man is money. You can't stop him. Thinking that he makes everything happen at the best moments possible. I loved him in the round that she was bringing up, where he had the 1v2 after Skies already had the 4K. Looked like Skies was going to get the ace, and I'm not sure if why he had the objective. I would have made someone else plant that while Skies watched over me. But unfortunately for them, and fortunately enough for Space Station Gaming, Thinkinade went big, and knowing his role, Jesse, I would say that, you know, by Thinkinade, him and Laxing are the best flank watchers in the game, especially when it comes to those late round moments of clutching it on either side.
Yeah, I think definitely. And Thinkinade had a really tough job here on Villa because this was a map where we saw a lot of roams up on the top floor. Welcome back, Jackie.
Hi.
And
Okay, by the way, you all know I was the most excited to talk about Thinkinade, and of course that's where I freeze. But anyway, I'll let you elaborate, Jesse. I mean, I love him. I think he has clutch plays, and sometimes he gets slept on, and so I just love that he stole that away from DarkZero.
Yeah.
But please elaborate some more, Jesse. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to mention how difficult it is to flank watch on Villa the way it was being played, because a lot of times on these bottom floor holds, you had roamers up on the top floor, and generally these teams weren't choosing to go for a full-on roam clear. So it's all right, Thinkinade, flank watch, you better watch these staircases, because if we get flanked, that's on you. So it's it's a tough job to be a flank watch here on Villa, but he did a great job.
It's big to point out, we always talk about whoever has the most kills in a round. Thinkinade is the most quiet person in this entire lobby, and he essentially won 2 rounds off a huge play. So I just want to put that out there. He's the man.
Okay, y'all, we have our community poll result. Are you all ready for that?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out what our question was.
It was
Our
Hyper
producer,
against...
who continues their dominant play into Playday 7? Rampy versus Hyper.
Yes.
Who do y'all think won?
Oh, it was Rampy.
I think Hyper won.
You think
This was
Hyper?
close.
Hyper late map, Jesse. Late map, he went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I think Rampy played better in this map, but I think the community would have voted for Hyper, and I think I was right there. But it's close.
You were right. 54% for Hyper, 46% for Rampy. I mean, that's super close. Both of them are just absolutely nuts. But all right, gentlemen. I believe Jesse went with DarkZero, map 1. Valley, you went with SSG. We're moving on to map 2. So what are we thinking, gentlemen? We sticking to our guns, or you jumping ship, Jesse?
All right, I'll stick with it this time. I thought that I was ready to jump ship when I saw those first 3 rounds. I mean, really, DarkZero didn't look like themselves, I thought, going into this map, but they kind of did recover, even though the scoreline didn't get a whole lot better for them. They were winning their defenses, and even their later attacks, I thought, looked a lot better than their earlier attacks. So I think DarkZero just had some things that they needed to work out, and they should be better for map 2.
Val, you sticking with SSG?
Jackie, we all saw the same map, right?
Yes, we did.
All right, Space Station got this. You know what? It might be a 2-0 if these boys keep it up, because they're playing amazing. Folks, at the first half of the game really was a huge impact, but the team still won in dominant fashion. What does that say about the rest of this roster? They're taking it. Space Station Gaming all the way.
So Intero said I have to roast you both more. I can't roast people.
Jackie, well,
I'm a hype lady.
The moment's gonna come, I guarantee it. You're gonna have your chance.
Okay, I will take a try at roasting whoever. So if Jesse somehow DarkZero pulls it off, then I'm roasting Jesse. But if SSG went, I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll think about roasting.
All right.
But yeah. All right. I'm done talking. Let's move on. Okay, we got Cafe up next. We're super excited about it. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We might end up having a relatively quick matchup for our DarkZero SSG affair, as right now, Spacestation kind of stunning us, and I'm sure most of the audience, taking DZ's map 7-3 here, as this could be it for DarkZero.
Well, I don't think it's ever appropriate to count out DarkZero. They've had a moment to catch a breather, you know, rest a little bit. I'm expecting this to be less one-sided. I'm expecting no matter what, this will come down to the wire. Of course, you know, whenever we predict these things, it's often the total opposite, but I think that this one can go the very full distance, and we'll see a much more true competition that we were expecting in this kind of a series. We'll load into Cafe, DarkZero on defense, SSG on attack, so DZ start the bans. You know, Parker.
Yes.
A big part of that last map, I think, was the operator bans. The way that SSG was able to work around those operator bans, where they got, again, we talked about the aggression, we talked about just taking the fights. So if we see similar operator bans, and we already are right now, then it might be SSG with another edge.
I mean, the other operator that was banned time was Hibana. They banned Hibana in Clash. It was Thatcher and Mira from DZ. Mira is not always the most optimal ban, I want to say here. So this is an opportunity for DZ to be able to change things on attack.
Look at that. All right, that's an interesting pick there. Or interesting ban, I guess. Kaid will be another one, and that makes sense. It's a direct response to Thatcher getting banned. And Mira, that final ban. So we've talked at length a lot about Mira, because she, as an operator, has found herself kind of outside of the realm of influence of the Siege operator pool. She gets banned a lot, and when she's not getting banned, she doesn't actually get played a whole heck of a lot. As operators go, in terms of overall influence, actually, she has fallen down to like second in the US division, which is, and then 53% of that is ban rate, 17% pick rate. That's a very different story than where she used to be not a few seasons ago. And we'll go to Kitchen for the first defense here for DZ. Ooh. I would have been surprised. Twitch has kind of fallen out of favor ever since their ammunition nerf. And then also it's really mostly, I mean, okay, look at the attacker lineup right now. Name one operator on that lineup that Twitch has more utility than. Especially without a Mira in play. It's just you can't do it.
All right, well, utility is obviously the name of the game. It very much was on Villa. It was something that was pointed out by the analysts too on a map like Mira, and she doesn't bring a lot of utility. That's and honestly, that's a big focus. So, I'm not surprised to see her go off and have Capital with.
A lot of layers to the attack, a lot of layers to the defense as well. Standard stuff with this utility. It is a hold inside of Bakery. Now, these are actually not as common anymore. DZ are trying to delay. I think they've recognized that time is of the essence here for the attack, and the more they can waste, the better. They got two ADSs behind the counter. They've got OMI playing near prep door. Shields to assist both of these players inside of Bakery. Castle barricades to deny the pressure that can come out from small. There's layers to this hold. It's all about delaying as long as possible. Really?
It happens. But anyway.
You're coming in fine for me, so that has to be your other thing, your other stream to them.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
No, I know what you meant.
Air jab has been spotted there. Hyper will get rid of it. There's still another one on this door, though, as this is the primary objective for the Nomad. They really need to hold down the small Bakery. That's all Nomad needs to do in this round. They need to lock that up. So, Job done for thinking in. He's forced Hyper to fall back. Smoke's coming into the bakery, which still has not been cleared out. SSG are starting to feel the pressure of that clock as we've passed the half round already. Big kill there from Canadian. Skies goes down behind the bakery desk or counter, whatever you want to call it. With that pick, SSG can continue on into bakery, take that control, but it's a little bit late. It's a whole minute. This is looking pretty winnable, or pretty already won almost for the defense. Prep wall will get opened up. The bakery wall already has a rotation, and so that's not really even a step the attack needs to take. There was no late pocket reinforcement there. It's really hard to pull that off on that particular wall. They'll actually will open up the second panel, though. That's going to give more angles to the attack as they start peeking into the bomb site. Though you can see that SSG is going to start doing that. They'll exchange some HP, Canadian onto Eclipse and Eclipse onto Canadian. But we're coming close to that fabled 20-second mark, and well, the attack will get a second pick. That's actually massive. That second pick could be the final nail in the coffin here for the attack. And Rampy even lands a nade onto Hot and Cold, who is one of the closest defenders to denying this push into the site. This should be an easy plant and cover for SSG. Mitt and Hyper now trying to play the long angles, trying their best to inflict some punishment onto the attack. And at least one kill for Hyper. Bosco has been downed, but Canadian will put this into a post plant. There's still an air jab on this door, so Hyper cannot push through that doorway. He'll have to use the rotation, which is being watched by two attackers at the very least. Oh, bad rotation. That's really unfortunate. And as he wiggles in, he'll incur a lot of damage. Bolts inflicting it. SSG will take the round. Great plant and post-plant coverage. So, with SSG taking round number 1, they're looking solid on the attack. That's really massive. We talked about how in favor the defense was for Villa, and I feel like that same kind of idea is reflected now on Cafe. The bans are a little bit similar. Of course, Habana's not banned here, so more hard destruction available, but also the Qaed's banned, so less denial available. My voice is starting to die. I apologize. With Reading being the next bomb site, that makes sense. DarkZero not feeling very comfortable on the bottom floor, and so they're going to try something different. They got to mix things up after a pretty lackluster hold downstairs like what we just saw. A big part of that comes down to how Bakery was still a big delay factor, but in the end, did not end up mattering, as the execution just got so many picks as soon as Bakery was in hand of SSG. Welcome back. Hope it's good, yeah.
I mean, you hope for the best at this point.
You know,
if not, I will merge with the Matrix.
Become the Robo Parker. Yeah. Well, you know, your voice might have been a little bit robotic, but I had like a really killer voice crack while you were gone.
Did you?
Yeah, I was just like rambling and rambling and rambling. It's just like unlucky.
Well, it's
yeah, they did do that. It was I don't know if you were there to see it, but it was
I wasn't.
So DZ held on to Bakery for like 2 minutes. But then when SSG got Bakery control, it was just one SSG pick after another, after another, after another. It was a pretty linear attack from SSG, but that's all they needed, so.
Got it. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate it.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
All right. So this is going to be a second floor defense. You're looking at Reading being the obvious bomb site here, and it looks to be a similar lineup from Spacestation. I will say that because I was battling tech issues, I didn't see the full lineup of DZ.
On the last site, I think it was very similar to what we have right here. I don't know about the mute, though. I know we had Jaeger and Wamai. It's the only one I really remember. I'm not good at remembering the lineups. Plus, DZ died really quickly. You there?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'll just keep talking.
I mean, we're both very good at it, and I appreciate you solo casting. Thank you. Can we get a thank you, Michael, for all those watching in chat? Thank you, Michael, or thank you, Kit.
Take my voice for not being fully dead.
There you go. Voice crack and all, we appreciate it.
Yay!
It's going to be your first pick, by the way. It's going to go to SSG, and they will start off Reading Room.
That's a really good pick there, and we're seeing more of the same from SSG. We're talking about how favored the defense can be, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be that story on Cafe. SSG continues their dominance. You can see Eclipse looking to get a little aggressive. He knows he wants to bring the man count back into his team's favor, but he's unable to do so. Why? There's no one there. There's no one by Pixel to pick off. SSG are consolidating their forces time and time again. You can see how in line with each other they are, how stacked up they are. That offers them a lot of refrag potential. The peak by 90 will net 2 big kills, though, for Hyper as he gets aggressive. Pistol out on the breach. He's worried about a push from SSG, but there's no refrag. We're even us out onto a 3-on-3, and with only 15 seconds left, this should be DZ's round to take. Stun's going in through the breach, though. This is a big position for SSG to have control of, but they don't have the manpower necessary thanks to Hyper's heroics. Eclipse will get Bosco, who was on the flank. Plant going down, but there should be some form of denial just in a matter of time. But 2 big kills for Fultz, and he should be able to cover the plant as well, and he does it! Fultz with his own triple! Response to Hyper's big play by 90, and SSG miraculously take the round.
I wish more than anything that I could have heard what Canadian was finish with Fultz. And I'm sure if SSG does win, we will very likely hear it in the post-game interview. But my God, what a play. You said it perfectly. This was DZ's round to lose control. They had the time on their side. They had numbers. And yet they still lost because the one man that was left that you have your hopes and dreams pinned on for SSG, man, just to clutch. Another example of how good we see from North America all of their top players can be in the clutch. Fultz has been a little bit overshadowed this season. He hasn't exactly had the best stats. Veli focused on how good Thinking Nade was during the analyst segment. We talked about Rampy and how good he's been in particular. Bosco had some great moments. And while Fultz did have a bit of a down week previously, he's really bounced back and he's making at least this matchup his own.
Yeah, it was a really good round there for Fultz, but also just for SSG as a whole, consolidating on their take. I really appreciate that. It did actually give an opportunity to Hyper to get that double piece unresponded to. But at the same time, you know, I think the stack up is the play here. The attacks haven't been winning unless they've been stacking up, and that's really been the story time and time again. And if you're wondering what I mean by stacking up or balling, basically it's just when you take all of your attackers, you consolidate them all in the same position, and you're like, okay, we're going to take fights together, and we're going to refrag each other. It's a stark contrast to what we've been seeing from even DZ. When they were on attack, a lot of spread out executions, and it has been costing them, to be honest. Ooh, that's a last-minute decision there from Hot and Cold.
Yeah, I was going to say, DZ has made, I don't want to say questionable choices because I know that there's obviously like a thought process behind it, and it's very clear that they have a methodology behind this. They were called a method, what was it? What was the exact word that Jackie used way back? They're a they have methodology behind them. I'm trying to think of the exact word she used. Thanks for helping me out, by the way.
Maybe. My guess is methodical.
I was trying to think of the exact term that she used.
Methodemiology.
I don't think that's the one.
Nah, I just made that up. What? Is it?
Sounds like it. You could have told me. It would have fooled me. I would have been like, yeah, that sounds like a word. Of all the words I've heard that sound like one, that's definitely up there. So,
you know, actually, I'm not really sure. Anyway.
You can be as prepared as you want, and you can do, you know, the kind of tricky plays that you want on defense, and you can do the setups that you want and all that jazz. And DarkZero is obviously a team that we see pull it off more often than not when you look at their track record over the last 6 months to 12 months. At the same time, Spacestation just appear to be on an roll right now, and it's not even DZ necessarily committing as many mistakes as you'd expect. When you look at DZ, it's very easy for us to rip on teams that seem to be falling short of our expectations and their own. Matchups against both DG and OXG really bang on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, I really like SSG when they're, as you said it, and I think this is the perfect way to put it, banging on all cylinders, because we don't always see that from them. They're not the most inconsistent team, mind you. We've seen worse. But this season hasn't been their number one, and I think in this match, we're definitely seeing the A+ S tier effort from SSG, or in this match, I should specify. And that's really cool. This is a nice cutoff here from SSG. Speaking of, you saw what was happening there. Spoltz and SSG applying pressure to Bakery, forcing Skies to retreat to prep, but then, oh, look at that. There's Rampy, cutting off the prep rotation. Beautiful stuff there for SSG.
Obviously frustrating, as he hasn't exactly had the standout game here on Cafe that he's wanted, at least when you look at how he played on a map like Villa. 10 seconds left, and DZ in a moment before as SSG finds kills 2 and now number 3 as well. They've got control of the bomb site, and it's Mint to try to clutch. He holds his fire, but unfortunately he was looking for more than one. He won't even get that. It's a flawless round from Spacestation, and they're up 3-0, inflicting on DZ the same pain they did through the first 3 rounds of Villa.
Wow, the laser focus from SSG is just so well represented here in these rounds. They identify their targets, lock in on those targets, and then eliminate them one after another. And it almost feels like we're not in the last 20 seconds of these attacks. The way that it's being played by SSG is calm, collected, and informed. And these key points, I think, are what are allowing them to win the gunfights when those last few seconds come into play. A big difference between SSG in the dying 20 seconds of a round and many other teams is that more often than not, when attacking, SSG will still have their guns up. How many times have you seen an attack, last 20 seconds, just sprint into the bomb site and get torn to shreds by the defenders? It's so common an occurrence, you almost expect it. But not so with SSG, at least not in this series.
What do you do if you're DarkZero to try and kickstart what so far, has been, what is this, 13 rounds with only 3 of them going in your favor? Right now, you have to obviously not tilt, but I mean, if you're DZ, is it fair to say that there's probably some frustration with what we're watching? Is there some worry about them mentally beating themselves unless they can somehow manage to find a recovery over the next round or two?
It's hard to say, right? If there's, because we're not privy to their comms. We're not in their team speak or what have you, whatever they're using for communication. So it's really hard to say, like, are they stressed out? Is there a little bit of a fluster going on here for DarkZero? But it certainly seems like it, if we're judging by gameplay, I'm definitely not seeing, like, tip-top DarkZero play right now. It almost seems like they've psyched themselves out for this match. And because I haven't really seen them kind of show up since the beginning, I'll be honest with you. I think it could be that SSG is in their heads, and I completely understand that sentiment. I've been in that position myself before, years and years and years ago, so I know that vibe. But it's not, it's while it is understandable, it's also not forgivable, right? You have to understand that they have to shake that. There's no ifs, ands, or but. They are one of the top contending teams in North America. And, again, one of those 4 teams in Group A is not going to get that auto ticket to the major. Is it going to be DZ? That becomes more and more likely the more these series lose. And I'd be really scared if I were them right now.
Right. The only team that is qualified for the major at the moment is Oxygen, who did so with a 2-0 victory over TSM. So, as is noted, and we want to talk about how important this match is for both of these teams, you will get guaranteed a spot to compete in the biggest tournament of the summer and the biggest tournament since the 6 Invitational that we've seen. So obviously a lot on the line here, and these teams have some, I don't want to say bad blood between each other, but they have chewed each other out on Twitter many times, referring to each other in a negative fashion, that they are just online teams, etc. Whether it be, DZ's just an online team, or they're just better online, whereas SSG's the LAN team, so on and so forth. So obviously, there's some fun that goes on behind the scenes with this type of matchup.
Bosco not checking the doorway, and he will get stunned, but it doesn't matter. There's no one there to kill him. So, not the end of the world. Bosco just hesitates a little bit, and he'll wait to be sure that he's cleared out everything else before he continues on. Now, Rampy is a big player in this round. He'll open up a lot of angles down into the site. Worth noting that this is not a reading defense. This is, in fact, a mining defense, which is a little bit odd. You typically see reading, not mining, but not so here. And worth noting, it is a 5v5 as we come down to the final 20 seconds of this round, as we have seen happen most of these rounds.
There's the assault on the B-bomb site being started off by Fultz, and Rampy will get the opening kill onto Hot and Cold. One member of DarkZero just one member of SSG just evading the grasps of DZ, but Eclipse on the retreat, or the flank if you want to call it, he takes out Bosco. Diffuser going down, it has to be restarted again as the Jaeger isolated and destroyed. Mark's coming out to the hallway, is thinking Nate is there, and he gets taken out as Skies and Mint are in on the fun. Rampy and Canadian in the post plant now, as Skies is going to continue to get knocked on over, and Canadian is taken out by Eclipse. It's Rampy now in a 1v3. He'll need to clutch. Sky's going for the disable, and Rampy might not know this. He catches the Ella, but he's only got 2 seconds. He needs to stop the defuse, but he won't be able to get it. Under his very nose is Skies, and there's the round that DarkZero needed to find that momentum and get themselves back in the game. They managed to beat out a 3v3 in the post plant, and they get it done.
Big round there for DarkZero, and a huge part of that, Skies coming from the red hallway. And not only him, but Eclipse, both of them working the flanks and doing a lot of work in that process. And props to them for that. Now, it was a little bit worrisome there for the defense when they didn't have any control over mining. SSG just walked into mining and started that plant up, but there was plenty of flanking going on, as I mentioned, and that's exactly what allowed DZ to clean up the round. So big job there for DarkZero. Well done to them, and nice try for SSG, but ultimately just a smidgen off of success there. I mean, I think if Rampy had a second or two more dropped after he dropped, he probably would have been able to deny that disable and maybe even won the 1v1 right after.
I don't know if Rampy got a late call or not, or if they just didn't know. I think he was aware that somebody was above, and you can get tunnel vision, not realizing how quickly those 7 seconds can just fly by as well. You know, I mean, we've been caught off guard where it's been 2.5 minutes, and oh, hell, look, there's only 30 seconds left, Michael, and we're going to have to start paying attention to what's happening in the round, because it's been really uneventful, and I do wonder if Rampy found himself in that same circumstance. But honestly, DarkZero played the post plant excellently. You know, Diffuser goes down, Canadian has to fall off. SSG got caught. They didn't really seem to have anybody on flank watch, and we saw the air jabs knock Skies around, but they were all largely positioned on red stairs. There was nobody to watch white, which is where Eclipse had come from, and overall DZ were able to just simply get under the radar, fly under the radar of Space Station, and as SSG, as many teams do, they get the diffuser down, they immediately pivot, and it's in that pivot when the attackers are able, or the defenders rather, are able to strike, and that's what happened for DarkZero. So with that, they desperately needed that round because it prevents SSG from outright winning the half. Still 2 more rounds if you're a Space Station fan for them to be able to accomplish it, but a 3-3 is more doable now, obviously, than the final 20 seconds would have shown off. But that's not a good one. A very successful entry and a cheeky one from Fultz as he breaks the bottom of the barricade, gets in, kills Hyper, and immediately gets out. DarkZero will be in a 4v5 for 2 and almost a half minutes of this round.
That's a big win there for Fultz and SSG as a whole. Fultz has been the standout performer, though, of course, with those 8 kills. That's big. A good job to him for that pick. Now it returns to the top floor clear, and Fultz will head that up as well. The man's doing it all, really, on the entry. You can see that there's a little bit of distraction there being played out by Eclipse. He's trying to delay this round as long as possible, as is the rest of the roam on the top floor. That's their sole mission. Delay, delay, delay. Well, they can also hold from above if the attack chooses not to clear out the top floor, but that's very rare on a raiding defense. You kind of have to go the extra mile and clear upstairs. I love the way I was going to say, this was an unsuccessful defense in round number 2 with the diffuser down on the first kill for SSG, so they obviously put in excellent work, and a lot of it was after they isolated that A-bomb site and then pushed onward. Fultz, of course, with that clutch 2 as he was playing by the laundry rotate inside of B, and it was really an impressive thing for him here.
I don't know if you're going to find that same magic, and you can't really hinge your entire attack on a Herculean effort from one player. So even though Fultz has already made his mark on this round by getting the opening pick onto Hyper, it might be more of a joint effort, as the focus appears to be on the dining hall and not reading. But you'll open up the reading wall just for good measure. And there goes the exothermic charge. Canadian's objective play, so far so good. He's going to have to get the diffuser down as you see the Valkyrie of Hot and Cold watching. A second kill for Fultz comes in as his reign of terror is shut down by that Valkyrie, who takes a ton of damage and manages from the same spot to claim Rampy 2. SSG still with an advantage, though, as DarkZero gets a kill of their own. Hot and Cold's on 1 HP, make that 0 HP as there's Boss Goat, as he's been referred to as, and the Wamai gets taken down by Boss Goat again. I believe obligatory. What are they feeding him? Space Station's up 4-1.
I will ask him later. Do you want to guess, Parker?
Goats eat grass, don't they?
Oh. I'm gonna guess pancakes. Good round there to Boss Goat, but as well, Fultz. His amazing entry picks were, in the end, I think the main reason SSG were so dominant through that round. As you saw, Hot and Cold playing inside of reading on the breach did a significant amount of work, and typically that's enough to bring a team into a leading position, but not so when Fultz is in play and has already put his team so far ahead. So, it's been a close competition, all things considered, in many of these rounds. That one is a good example of a very close round. However, it's not a close scoreline. 4-1 right now for SSG. And this is map 2 after SSG took map number 1. So this is every single one of these rounds. You know, we get closer and closer to DZ, losing the series. And honestly, Parker, I really didn't think that it would be going like this. You know, I keep looking at the scoreline and in my head going, well, it's Cafe, it's defender-sided, so of course SSG's going to be up 4-1. And then I look at the top again and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. SSG's on attack. You know,
I think at the tail end of last season, or, you know, historically over the last little while, the most defender-sided maps, correct me if I'm wrong, the top 3 were, in no particular order, Villa, Clubhouse, Cafe. At least I know for at least a season or two, Cafe was one of the most defender-sided maps, and it's no surprise that we see it doing the same, you know, or we should see it doing the same here. This is what bodes very poorly for DarkZero and bodes really well for SSG, is that you're right. Even though SSG is in orange, they are the ones attacking. And that's very bad for DarkZero. A 5-1 is not off the table just yet, and given the way that we've seen a lot of these rounds, it has been utter domination from Space Station with very limited things to be proud of if I'm DarkZero. These have been some tough rounds for them, and honestly, I wanted to say that Villa was probably a closer match at this point than we have seen out of Cafe, which is especially problematic for DZ, because this is it. If you don't manage to win this map, it's over. You have to play against TSM, with one of you going to the major.
Yeah, I mean, this is an odd series so far for DZ, but it's not the end of the world like you mentioned, Parker. While the team that wins here gets their spot at the major, that doesn't completely eliminate you from the running. You'll play in the next match, which will give you a chance at the major. But that's the final one, I believe. Yeah, it should be, because there's 3 spots out of the group. You just have to finish first, second, or third in this group, and you get your spot. Which means that in order to do that, all you need to do is win 1 map, because 4th will always be the team that, or not 1 map, sorry, 1 match. I should really specify that, because 4th will always be the team that loses 2 matches and then gets bumped right out. Anyway, sorry. Hold up in cocktail here for DZ, and you can see it's the time factor again. They're trying to waste as much time as possible. They've done a good job of eating up some utility from SSG so far, and they still have 1 player inside a cocktail trying to contest, but he'll just barely fall away as Fultz gets the drone and the information. That's great timing for DZ.
Fultz also missed a possible pickup on Hot and Cold, who's now down inside of reading, as this is the second crack at this bomb site, with DZ liking a very limited site rotation that, well, hasn't really gone the way that they've wanted for it yet, or wanted it to go just yet. Hyper managed to get away with the tiny bit of HP, and the wrecking crew upstairs will continue to make life really challenging for the DZ members that are playing down below, especially those that are playing inside of the reading portion of the bomb site. Fultz could drop down onto the head of Hot and Cold, thinking nade falls to skies, but the diffuser is going down, and there's Fultz to take out Hot and Cold as he does indeed drop. Look at that! They've completely vacated the bomb site, and a C4 will claim Fultz as Bosco takes out Eclipse. Both teams blow to blow, but the diffuser is down, and that is a great success. if you happen to be Spacestation. So can you mount a retake now, or is SSG going to be able to box you out? Hyper up on white stairs. He'll try to go for the flank as Bosco is prepped and ready for him. 1 kill for Rampy, and there you go. Bosco is the name that's on our tongue for both map 1 and map 2. It's yet another clutch from Dylan Bosco, and it's 5-1 through the first half for SSG.
Jeez. That's actually insane. There's a lot to talk about in that last round, but I want to go for the overarching thing that I saw from SSG. And this is big, actually. There are many teams that prove themselves to be adaptable, and have comprehensive attack and defensive strategies, to be very thorough, and SSG is certainly one of them. But SSG just displayed a trait that is incredibly rare on the attacking side of Siege, and that is their ability to multitask. That was an execution that happened on a pocket. And what I mean by that is it happened separate from the rest of the main take from the attack. They not only isolated the angles from above, but were simultaneously going for a flank elsewhere, while Fultz drops inside of Laundry to cover Canadian to go for a plant. And that Fultz and Canadian planting was separate of the rest of the attack for the most part. Of course, there were still attackers holding from above, denying rotations, but that plant was, again, I feel like it was almost detached. And it's incredibly impressive stuff from SSG. And as much as I'm sure the chat is roasting DZ for the current scoreline, I really want to stress that I don't feel DarkZero are playing that bad. They are playing bad, I'll be clear about that. This is not the typical DarkZero. I think they could be doing a lot better. At the same time, SSG is playing really incredibly well. And not just up to SSG standards, but a little bit above and beyond. I'll be real with you.
I was going to make a comment about how it's DZ beating themselves, just as SSG had said in the run-up video that we watched. DarkZero are not playing up to snuff. This is a DZ team that, yeah, they had a bit of a struggle against SQ, but I mean, at the same time, SQ brought in 2 ringers, and I think both Lags and J90 played commendably given the fact. And it's also a bit of unpredictability, and DZ has shown that they have struggled in the past, albeit nowhere near as much as they used to. They have struggled in the past against teams that are unpredictable and play a crazy style. And I think that's what Sonics did, and they played it up quite well. But then DZ utterly obliterated TSM, and they've looked pretty strong ever since. And this is also a team that, if I remember correctly, is in the top 5 of the Siege GG global rankings right now. So they should be holding their own an awful lot better against SSG, especially given the fact that SSG has shown that they are nowhere near as terrifying as they were during their SI run back in February. So I don't know if it's just an off day for DZ, but they're going to need a couple good rounds in order to close this gap. And you're going to need somebody such as Hyper to really step up. He gets the very first pick on Bosco, the best player for DarkZero so far today, even though Fultz is technically doing good work on Cafe. DZ with the opening pick with 90 seconds left.
Now, they haven't cleared out the top floor, and by they I mean DZ, so that's a step they still need to take. You can see Rampy holding inside of Cigar, and Rampy's got to be thinking to himself, at this point, I might as well just leave. So he will, but Mint is on the skylight, and that's an easy shutdown. Rampy had the opportunity to use the drop to escape, but he chose to die. He wasn't aware of his decision, but it was made. Now, Rampy eliminated. Man advantage DZ. This is looking a lot like an attacker-sided Cafe right now. There's still an opportunity for SSG to bounce back, but it's not going to be easy, that's for sure. With Rampy down, I think your chances get slimmer and slimmer. But Fultz has been very active, and on that Maestro, he's got the Elda. He could definitely work some magic.
I don't think they've determined that he's upstairs inside of a cocktail right now.
No.
He's playing in heaven, and this could go really badly, but it appears that Mint might actually be smarter than it. And yes, Mint wins the duel. That's huge for DarkZero now, and there's a Claymore on a Canadian, and Hyper finishes it off. Flawless round, all right.
Oh,
DZ composed as ever, but boy, you need something to improve the mood on that team, and a flawless round on your very first attack is about as good as you're gonna get.
That's some big stuff there for DZ. A flawless round to answer back the absolute trouncing in the first half. Now the question's going to start coming in, okay, well, is this just an attacker-sided Cafe? Now, we've talked about this at length. Sometimes the way that teams just match up against each other, they overrule conventional map-sidedness. So maybe this map is defender-sided, but sometimes, like maybe it's just DZ and SSG and the way they play, it overrules that defender-sidedness. And then further, the operator bans play a large role in whether a map is going to be attacker or defender-sided. So there's a lot of things to consider here. Honestly, based on the bans, I would have expected this to be even more defender-sided, but clearly not so. And I don't know. I'm starting to wonder what exactly is going on, because the way that this is playing out is just not what you would expect.
This is all the fixings of going into OT. DarkZero wins Cafe, and then we get propelled to Coastline. We are maybe 6 to 7 minutes away from this series being done. Or we are maybe an hour and 10 minutes away from this series being done. Right. I feel like it, obviously it's going to be somewhere in the middle, but I suspect the Cafe is not quite over. And it just might be more of an attacker-sided Cafe. The Ying ban from SSG was obviously done to try and slow down DarkZero and prevent them from getting away with the things that you can get away with if you bring a Ying on a map like Cafe. Especially given the fact that every team on defense is abusing the Wamai Jaeger combination to just eat up all of those flashbangs, all of those projectiles, etc. Ying is excellent at clearing that out. And obviously, when you look at a team like DZ, they like to bring shields. They've bring Ying before. It also means that SSG doesn't need to flex onto a Warden if Ying is on the board. A strategic ban from SSG hasn't hindered DarkZero through that first round. We'll see if it continues to hold. But for a kitchen defense, the name of the game is going to be taking control of the offsites, taking control of either the front of bakery or taking control of, dining above the hatch, and then just playing those angles. And that's going to be the main focus from DZ as they start to work away on this third floor as they've gotten control above. And there's a buck up there to begin tearing away at the floorboards.
Okay, slow roll for DZ so far. Not jumping into anything. Rightfully so. Spot on. They have top floor control. Lots of work that can be done from there, but of course, since it is a bottom floor defense, they need to start moving their way down. Taking about half the round to get that cleared upstairs, and that's fair. Breach charge used by Hyper. That'll actually open up a good portion of the floor. That's good awareness there for Hyper. Now, SSG is going to start feeling the pressure of this top floor attack. They'll have to adjust somewhat to account for it. They can extend into bakery, and that's actually really good. The fact that the defense still has control over bakery affords them a lot of maneuverability. I think that they have opened a rotation in the bakery wall, but I'm not entirely sure. If the rotation exists, then it's more options for the defense. And yes, it does.
Yes, it is.
So with an Echo and a Maestro in play, they can deny the plant in all likelihood on site, despite the vertical destruction coming out.
DZ's already inside of the freezer. 1 minute to go. Don't get boxed on in. You'll see that there's no smoke noticeable for SSG, so they're not able to do a ton of damage in that regard. Looks like a frag grenade goes out and it misses, so that's going to chase off Bosco for but a second. 3 members of DZ inside of the freezer. It's going to have a chilling effect as they look to burst on out, and they'll try to figure out if the castle is playing in that area. They seem to be aware of it as Bosco plays back and forth, thinking Nate on 1 HP, finished off by Skies. And the diffuser going down successfully. Hot and Cold will be able to get away with it. Nobody watching. No, he gets killed, but the diffuser goes down anyway. 1 from Fultz, as it's now an advantage for SSG, but there's the post plant up. You also saw the yokai inside of freezer that was continuing to give information. There's a kill for Mint, doing excellent work for DZ. It's a 3v3, but the timer is the bigger issue. And Mint is all the way back playing by Bakery. Eclipse is able to stop Fultz. Smoking Rampy is Mint, and Canadian as the Echo will need to rush on into the bomb site. An excellent post plant that seems completely unwinnable, even though Canadian takes down Hyper. Eclipse has his back, and it's a perfect trade, giving DZ their second round in a row.
The real crime there is that SSG was well aware of what attack strategy was coming out. They had the yokai drone to gain the information on the push, and yet they couldn't handle it. Unfortunate for SSG. Great job to DZ on the site push. They won their ones, and they took control as well as getting that plant down. Big ups. Most of that came down to the missed yokai drone blast and the inability to stop the plant. My first assumption when seeing the Maestro Echo is that, okay, yeah, SSG's going to play far back. They're not going to try and hold the site as firmly. They're going to deny as long as they can, and they should be able to do that for a fairly long time. But they didn't. They didn't do that at all. They, oh boy, they They really just rushed in there, and they attacked it, and then SSG never really brought out the denial. They tried and failed to, and that's really unfortunate. Yeah, it's rough for Space Station. You could see how Space Station was scrambling post-plant, realizing they now had to retake because it didn't seem like they were prepared to do so. They were expecting their denial to last a little longer.
And you could see that the setup, you had the Wamai, you had the Maestro, and you had the Echo all playing inside of Prep, Bakery, or Small Bakery. So they wanted DZ to take from the back of the bomb site. They wanted DZ to try to either funnel in from the bottom of red stairs, or they wanted them to go through the freezer. This was obviously very coordinated effort. And there was an IQ on the board, so the Echo, the Yokais, weren't going to be as strong as they need to be. There was one inside of the freezer, it was spotting away, it wasn't good enough to stop the diffuser from going down. The one thing is that when we've seen freezer takes go so aggressively from the attackers, there's always a defender waiting with either a nitro cell or a toxic canister playing inside of that little alcove that's in the middle of your screen right now by the B bomb site. They can watch the walk-in door and they can watch the vault as well. I will stop myself for just a second here because I don't know what Rampy was doing, but already there is a casualty as he gets blasted up by the reading balcony. 15 seconds off the board. DarkZero is already in the lead.
Dun, 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 dun. That's that early first pick theme song. Whenever you get one of those kills that are so far detached from the rest of the round, I mean, that just compounds how effective it is as a kill. That's the funny thing. We always talk about that first frag statistic, right? You know, around 65% win rate with getting the first pick. And in my opinion, it's made more effective the earlier in the round it is. Because it makes it gives time for the attackers, for example, in this case, to reset, to regain focus, to not stress out, and to know that they're not having to worry about, immediate refrag. So that's a really big pick there for DZ, and it's definitely looking like a rally back right now. Round's not over just yet, but, I mean, I'd still give DZ good odds for taking this one.
As I said, I think there were only two options. Either we would be done in 6 minutes, or we're going to need an hour and 20 minutes to settle this one, and it's definitely looking like the latter, so buckle up, Junior.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Also just, seatbelts are for safety, Michael. So.
Yeah, make sure to wear them.
Yes. This is not going to be as quick of a drop into the freezer as DarkZero had pulled off last time. They'll make sure the coast is clear with both Hot and Cold and Hyper droning out around the freezer, and we'll see if one of them is going to go for the drop. Bosco with his UMP in hand is going to be the first line of defense, and likely better placed Yokais from Canadian will also prove to be beneficial. You have to watch on the retake, though, because at the bottom of White Stairs, Mint had done an excellent job in the previous round of locking that one out and holding off the position from Thinking Nade, and that's exactly where Mint is again. He'll take out the default cam, and he can hear the sound of the AUG inside of VIP, but he's not going to be able to land anything just yet. He and Thinking Nade are engaged in this battle to the death. DZ is dropped into the freezer with 30 seconds to go, and they will now begin to plot their next move. It's Hot and Cold, Eclipse, and Hyper all together, and there you go. Hot and Cold going for the same default plant spot that he was in before. Is there a Yokai drone in play? We can see it is. It'll stop Hot and Cold. Thinking Nade's been down, so things will get grim for SSG as Hyper picks off Fultz. It's Canadian in a 1v5, and it looks like it could be a flawless round. He's almost out of charges, and he'll need to stop the Hibana. Desperation sinks on in, Thinking Nade finished off by Mint, and Canadian knows that this is all but lost. He'll have to vault on in and find many angry members of DarkZero watching, and they'll all get in on the fun. A flawless round for DarkZero. They've picked up 3 in a row now. They are 1 round away from tying this matchup.
Another flawless round. It's like in the halfway mark in this map, DarkZero suddenly came awake. And that's beautiful to see. I think a lot of people were wondering where they were. It's nice of them to show up. Looks like we're going to have a rehost, though, as that gets confirmed. So we will do just that. We'll bring it back to us. 4-5 will be your score line there, and SSG still in the lead, but clearly on the disadvantageous side. So something for them to consider. That last round played out much the same as the one before it in the kitchen defense. Lots of focus put on denial utility, Evil Eyes, and Yokais to stop the plant. And just a stack up in the freezer for DZ to circumvent that.
That's as good of a time forever. A very convenient time, actually, for the rehost to kick in because both these teams will be able to take a bit of a breather. But obviously, I would say that benefits Space Station more than anything. Now, we'll wait to hear back if the admins give us a reason for why the rehost was called, and then we can get back in on the fun. But man, DZ are really storming through these rounds, and this is a very decidedly attacker-favored Cafe. I do have to wonder about the utility that SSG is bringing, because both of the rounds that they defended Kitchen, your best tools for stopping Freezer, if you're not going to aggressively roam upstairs, if you're not going to have somebody play on that third floor, fall off to the second floor, if you're going to just pit your entire defense around securing Freezer, you have to make sure that there's some kind of denial. You looked at the lineup that we saw from Space Station, and what did they have? They had a Castle who I believe was bringing the proximity alarms. You had a Wamai who's not bringing any C4 or impacts, doesn't have them. He's bringing I believe he's bringing a deployable shield. You've got Echo on the board, who isn't capable of bringing C4. You've got all these operators on defense, none of which can do anything to stop DarkZero from clawing their way out of Freezer. And obviously there's a thought process here from Space Station. They're not just overlooking a very crucial part of defending a part of this map that gets attacked quite often. But you have to ask yourself, is it optimal? Would a smoke make a lot more sense in this particular setup? Would even one nitro cell make a lot more sense in this setup? And I think the answer that we can see through 2 rounds is probably, but I don't know if Space Station has any strats that involve them, and well, it can be challenging to come up with them on the fly.
You know, the problem is that they can't get anyone with C4s or smokes close enough to the attempted plant location to deny that plant. The closest they can get is the double door, and they have to maintain control of the main lobby. Now, they've been doing that. The defense has been doing that. But that position gets often dumped on by the attackers' counter utilities, stuns, and flashes, and just nades. Anything that really can get somebody off that position is being used on that position to deny that C4, deny those gas canisters if they were there. So I think that it's definitely SSG feeling like they can't control that. And you're right, it's hard to come up with something on the fly there. You know, maybe C4s in the main lobby, throwing it over into bunker would be an idea, you know, a play that could fix this problem, because the main lobby is still being controlled by the defense, so that could be a solution. But it's hard to find where that exact C4 spot is if you haven't dry run it. So now that's a difficult toss too. So yeah, it's some stuff for SSG to consider in the future. Right now they're definitely struggling with that hold. You know, it would be cool if they could just have defenders in the adjacent bomb site and throw C4s from there. But obviously that's not possible because the attack is opening from above before they execute into the site. Those holes are going to make it impossible for you to play there. That's why the defenders keep getting pushed to bakery. What I think is going to be for sure, though, in the immediate, I think that SSG is going to try some different sites. Unless they feel confident with having a problem solver for this exact attack that DZ keeps bringing out. Maybe in the break that they just had, SSG is like, okay, we know how to counter this. Here's how we're going to do it. But I doubt it. I think they're going to try a different site.
And that looks exactly correct, as we are ready to get into the match, and it's going to be Fireplace and Mining as the site now. There was, for the record, a sound bug on the side of Space Station that prompted the rehost, so hopefully they've got it all sorted out and figured out so that they can hear correctly. And, well, shown on the reveal phase as an echo, maybe DZ is expecting a kitchen defense, but it's a pulse that they 6th pick onto. For those that don't know about 6th pick and reveal phase, the pulse is hidden, so nobody knows, unless you're SSG, that there's a pulse on the board.
I imagine that DZ will figure it out pretty quickly. I mean, but we'll see. Maybe Canadian stays hidden. I like that they're changing sites. I mean, I talked about this a little bit just now. This is the right play, if you ask me. And I mean, what the heck do I know, right? But at the same time, that kitchen defense really was not working out very well for SSG. So this adjustment is, I think, welcome for the defensive hold. Now, keep in mind, SSG only needs 2 rounds to win this series.
10 seconds to go.
So that's still possible. It just hasn't looked very likely on the defensive side of Cafe.
5 seconds to insertion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you're so close if you're Space Station, and I had talked about momentum and what DarkZero needed to get themselves back into this match, and while I think they've done an exemplary job of getting themselves mentally back in, given that it's, well, 3 rounds in a row, 2 of which have been flawless, all of which you've netted the very first kill, and 2 of which you've gotten the diffuser down. You've basically walloped your opponent at that point. Space Station hasn't even come remotely close to winning any of those rounds. They've all been very definitive. So that is a huge momentum swing, and obviously Space Station would be a bit stunned with how quickly they've fallen off, and they will need to recenter themselves, and they're hoping to do it on the very first bomb site that they went to, which is this mining site. So, or rather, they haven't gotten to this one yet. Sorry, they went to Reading. So this is going to be a bit of a change, but not a massive one, and I would imagine we're still going to see quite a bit of a defense inside of Reading, as the Pulse will play behind the reinforcements inside of mining down below, and DZ will drone upstairs. The one thing I will say about DarkZero is they've been very quick to take control of this third floor when required, and it doesn't look like this round is going to be any exception.
This Easter pellet could prove detrimental to the defense in Cocktail. There is a potential run out here from Fultz, but it's being watched by Houghton. SSG's not going to go for that. They'll fall off Cocktail. I think that's the right play. Not nearly as much time wasted as they would have liked, I'm sure, but it's certainly the smart play to fall off when you're feeling the kind of pressure that DZ is putting up right now. C4 goes up and lands. Beautiful teamwork between Troy and Bosco to get that C4 onto Mint inside of Cigar. For those of you who don't know, the floor of Cigar is non-destructible, so you have to throw it from piano, and that's why they made the shotgun hole to throw that C4.
And that's the pick that I honestly think you need if you're Space Station. You need to get something to get back in this game. You had such an incredible attack that really could not be slowed down, and you have just been obliterated so far on defense by your opponents. And this will cool off DarkZero for about a moment as SSG, as I said, will need to recenter themselves. And it looks like it's been somewhat successful. 1 minute to go, and there was that positioning from the defenders as they hit the hatch and dropped through freezer. So expect Canadian to play from down below again, but he's made his way into Reading, so scratch that one. He knows that there's two inside a Cocktail, and he has no C4s that have been successful earlier. He's unable to land the shots, but he does enough. Unfortunately for him, he downs Hyper, and as we know, Zophia's unique ability is that she can withstand and get herself back. In this case, Hyper gets shot out by Canadian. That's the cardiac sensor being put to good use. 2 kills for the team captain of SSG. And it's stalling DarkZero as they've lost Fultz from above. But still, DZ will now need, with 20 seconds, to just bull rush their way in. On Brown stairs is a member of SSG who can just simply approach whenever he wants. There goes a toxic canister onto the marks, as Hot and Cold will try to get the diffuser down. Is he breathing any toxic canister? That's the real question. Thinking nade on the cross against Eclipse, and now down goes the Buck as well. It's a complete lockout. Space Station, it's a come from behind, but they will take it to match point with a good round, and once again, have some fun on that diffuser as they've got 32 seconds to get the diffuse off.
They will be able to get it down, though. There's that disable. SSG take the round. Solid collapse there. And that's match point. SSG finally pushing it the extra inch that they needed. So one more round, and the series goes to the Space Dwellers. So beautiful job to them for collapsing on that take from DZ. The C4 was the real star of the show there for me. That C4 at the beginning of the round by Canadian, thanks to Bosco helping him with the shotgun blast, really, I think, set the tone for the round. And I don't think SSG ever gave an opportunity to DZ to really recover from that. And as such, DZ couldn't.
It was so obvious that very first Nitro Cell knocked them off course as the remaining, 20 seconds? Or, sorry, the immediate 20 seconds afterwards really stopped DarkZero in their tracks. And they sat upstairs. They didn't know where to go next. They'd lost Mint. And obviously when you're trying to prevent SSG, who's in a numbers advantage at that point, from being able to pull off a flank, Nomad is your best operator to do that. She's got gadgetry that might not have been used by Mint at that point. So for DZ, that was a tough loss for them, and obviously Canadian with that rotate then again, drops through the freezer, manages to work his way back into Reading Room as he can call for a Cocktail above after Fultz dies, puts SSG in a very good spot where they've got a beat on 2 of the 4 members, and you can then make calls off of that. The one thing with Canadian is that not only are you using that cardiac sensor in an aggressive way, as you saw him eliminate Hyper from below, you're also using it to say, okay, we've got 2 in Cocktail. You can rotate. Thinking nade, you can go over to mining. You can go over to red. You can defend here. Play off of this. We've got the hatch open. We know where 2 of them are coming from. You can rearrange your pieces on the board to work the best for what's to come. Now, Rampy was going for a spawn peek. I think this is the second time he did this, as he got caught on the reading balcony before, and now he's done. And this is another sizable disadvantage. SSG had momentum seemingly swinging, and it looks like they could have just squandered it with Rampy being taken out early.
Now, those early picks we've talked about over and over and over again. And Rampy actually has been the victim of many of those early kills in this series, I think. And it's unfortunate for him. I think you put it perfectly. We talked about this before. It's a feast or famine kind of gameplay style. It was a vertical, I think we were talking about this with. And, well, Fultz actually does much the same. But his is successful as he was peeking the skylight, I think. I don't even know. But he got an early pick. And he'll put his team back into an even position. So it's actually Buck who is trying to enter into reading. Not only is that going to even things out, but also, more importantly, it means there's no Buck opening from below and reading.
And that's huge. Your vertical play now is likely going to be on the shoulders of Hyper. So that's, I don't know. I would be better and happier with that trade. And obviously, since it was Skies that killed Rampy, you were gambling on that Buck Jaeger trade earlier. And I mean, it ends up being a mutually assured destruction of sorts. Also, the ADSs are down, so the gadget dies with the Buck, but Jaeger's doesn't. So Rampy's influence on this round is still going to be felt. Wamai is absent for one of the first times that we've seen on a defense here, instead being subbed in for the Goyo with the proximity sensor. And, well, there's another kill for Space Station. They've got an advantage now, and they're going to look to try to haul the remaining members of DZ out to the trash as they're up 4v3. 45 seconds left. The advance from Mint up White Stairs could be met with a gas canister that gets tossed out, but it's Canadian down below, and there he goes. Mint is removed. Bosco takes out Eclipse, and it's all Hyper swinging in. He'll find one. Oh, two. Hyper from inside a cocktail managed to punish the members of SSG, but now he's got an even tougher job on his shoulders. Find the remaining two, and you're going to be vulnerable, trying to head in through bathroom. There he is. Lots of damage done to the Goyo. His position given away. You need the man of the hour himself, Canadian, with a nitro cell in hand, 15 seconds left. Hyper's going to try to play the objective. They're going to give a call. Canadian gets running on in, waiting for it. There goes the C4, and it misses. Oh my goodness, Hyper up on top, and now he just needs to watch the doorway. Canadian's not going to see this from down below. He sprays out. They both take so much damage. This is a nail biter, right down to the final moments. Air jab is being missed just for now, but no, Hyper's revenge. What a massive round from Hyper, and he's fired up. DarkZero looked primed and ready to lose that round, but they hang on, and they'll take the round and stay alive for now.
Hyper wins those! Holy heck! That's insane! There's no world where Hyper has any right to win that, and he just does? DarkZero still in play. Incredible stuff, and certainly a round that should have gone to SSG without any question in my mind. So disappointing for Space Station, and what a big round for DarkZero. That will, if anything, reinvigorate the furnace of DarkZero, and I'm sure that they'll be able to bring this all the way to OT. And well, not sure, mind you, I guess. I am fairly certain that this is going to go all the way to OT off of the back of a round like that. I mean, how do you recover in the immediate if you're SSG? I mean, they're one of the most mentally strong teams in Siege. But still, that's a tough one.
Goodness gracious, Hyper. And honestly, I mean, how much of that blame do you have to put at the feet of SSG for how they played that? Because it's a 1v4. A 1v4. Both members of SSG peaked at the same time. Was it Bosco and Fultz? They both peak immediately. They get taken out. Thinking Nade tries to hide, and then he tries to peek around the deployable shield, knowing that Hyper was playing inside a bathroom, and it's just an inhuman ability, and oh no, what? Bosco's trying to get a rotate out, and Rampy takes some damage. These are stupid little mistakes that SSG is making, and they are costing them. Rampy going for the spawn peek on the previous round. This time as well, Bosco downing Rampy. SSG should not be making these. No team that is playing in the US division should be making these, let alone the world champions.
Parker, Rampy was in such a hurry to be the first pick of the round that he enlisted his teammate to get that kill. Because Rampy keeps dying at the beginning of the round, man, and now he's not even gonna get a chance in his next gunfight. That's a 3-speed on less than 25, just 20 HP.
2-speed.
Sorry, a 2-speed. Yeah, actually. Wow,
He also
I really
doesn't have
am.
an ACOG.
Oh, really? Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a 2-speed on 20 HP. He'll die to a single bullet from anything. That's just terrible.
Not the spot you want to be in. And for SSG, this is going to be a tough round for them. They are defending kitchen downstairs. Both times previously, DZ took the round. One was flawless. Both of them had DZ getting the opening kills. Both of them resulted in the diffuser going down. And it was quite a limp defense from Space Station. A lot of it hinged on the echo play over towards Freezer. And we were critical, I was critical in particular, of a lack of explosives being brought, and I was critical of how there was no smoke on the board. Well, now there's a nitro cell here from Fultz in the Valkyrie, but you have to get Fultz in a good enough position to be able to use it. Once again, SSG is barricading off Bakery, and they're going to look to funnel DZ into the freezer. It has not worked out in Space Station's favor yet. They are hoping that third time's a charm. If not, we go to overtime. If it works out, SSG goes to the major and wins the match.
Well, there's a minute left for the execution. DarkZero applying a lot of pressure from above. They've got the holes opened up. They're doing the job. They're doing the work. Clearing out the Wamais and the ADSs. Get those magnets out of the way. You can see the yokai drones being positioned, but you could also see the drones spotting the yokai drones. So that's going to be information DZ will use to their advantage. They'll shoot the yokai as quickly as they can before going for that plant, if they know exactly where it is. Now, the VIP presence hasn't been really that influential here for SSG. And with Rampy on low HP, it might continue to be that way. Here comes the push, though, in the attempted plant. And look at that. Fultz will take down Hot and Cold on a long angle from the other bomb site. He doesn't care about the holes from above. He's going to play here anyway. And it's worked out pretty well so far. C4 gets caught on the wall and thus will not be able to stop the plant. Yokai drone will, though, as Hyper attempts to stick it. Bosco gets the second kill for SSG, and more stuns. There's the planter eliminated. Fultz is a big player in this round. It's all on Mint and Skies. That's a nice kill there for Mint. He gets the denial. He'll try to stick it. It's all on Skies now to cover. Nice headshot, but there's the denial from above. Bosco retakes the second floor, and now Skies has no chance. SSG will take map number 2, and the series 2-0.
So close, and it's one of those series where map 1 might have been an SSG favored map, but on map 2 it's very evident that a 2-0 scoreline does not quite tell the whole story between these teams, and a couple small changes made by SSG and also by DZ on that very final take ultimately end up changing the sequence of the rounds. Now, I'm guessing that DZ didn't like the openings that were created over by the ranges inside of Kitchen, so they decide to go for a different plant spot. But it's spotted by that yokai, as you'd noted, and Fultz was in a great position to either lob a C4 to the default spot that Hot and Cold had planted in twice before, or this new spot. Ultimately, that round alone shows that SSG was able to make the changes that they needed to make on the fly, which we both said could be quite difficult, and they end up coming out on top.
Yeah, you really have to be impressed by the tenacity of SSG to win that one out, as I didn't think they were going to be able to make it happen. That was the third time DZ was looking strong on that attack, but this time SSG was ready to deny the plant, and they came out swinging. Massive props to Fultz. I know he missed a C4, but seriously, the man of that moment to take the win for SSG.
Yeah, he was the frontline presence for that team that they so desperately needed. He started things off by getting rid of Hot and Cold. He stopped the other planter after the time was wasted really well by Canadian, and then that was really it. He let the rest of his teammates do their job. Bosco was able to take that second floor control after there was a bit of a blind spot by DarkZero. But that's it for us. We have our second team qualified for the major. Joining Oxygen is none other than the defending world champions, Space Station. We still have another match for you, though, and of course, we've got the lovely analysts to talk to, so we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back with more US Division.
Welcome back, I'm Jackie Jing, and I am with Belly and Jesse. DarkZero pushes it into overtime, but SSG winning that map 2 Cafe 7-5. Real talk, y'all. I thought that this was going to be just a drag out 3 maps. It just went differently today, for sure. We heard Kixon and Taro talking about DarkZero's mental game. Obviously, we can't hear their comms. We have no idea what was going on in their heads, but they did just seem off today. Jesse, am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. I think the start of both of these maps saw issues for DarkZero, right? It's hard to say what it is, right? But both of these maps start off with DarkZero just not really looking like themselves, just making some mistakes that you don't anticipate them to make. Right, Spacestation was getting some ground for free. They were winning picks that you really just don't expect them to win. And a lot of times it's just DarkZero playing somewhat questionably. So they recovered both times on both maps, but especially here on Cafe with the scoreline so close, you know, those early losses matter a lot. So at the end of the day, it definitely did hurt DarkZero.
Yeah. Belly, you were talking about Canadian, calling him the king of intel, but really SSG's intel seemed to win them a lot of rounds today.
I should have said Space Station Gaming are the kangs of intel, okay? Like, all of them got the crown on. No, it's insane, and there's one play that stands out, and it just shows how well they are when it comes to droning and collecting information. Now, there was a specific round where all drones were up, and the first drone that got shot out, there was 1 minute and 22 seconds left in the round. That's insane, but that also allowed a huge play to happen the round after that. Fultz was able to run up brown stairs, quickly kill Hyper under Skylight from the 2nd floor, and then rotate back down brown stairs and then get out of the building. Stuff like that just shouldn't happen. And DarkZero, they know how to drone with the best of them. Now, in my opinion, these two teams are the best when it comes to intel. It didn't show on DarkZero's side, and they definitely didn't have a counter for Space Station's intel game.
Yeah, it was pretty insane how Canadian was able to gather intel so effectively, both on offense, as Veli was talking with all those drones, but then on defense, like we saw a couple of rounds when they were playing on the lower bomb sites, where Canadian was on that pulse and either feeding intel to his team or getting some ridiculous C4 plays for himself, or even with, you know, the ump. Otherwise, you know, Canadian on the Valkyrie was playing a lot of that operator, and also the Echo, of course, which we saw it down in Kitchen a couple of times. Canadian was just constantly on this intel stuff, and that's stuff that doesn't really appear on the stat line. That's why, you know, if you're not actually watching the games, you might not think too highly of Canadian. If you're just looking at the numbers, then this guy's not really going to show up on your radar. But definitely he puts in a lot for his team, and I think that's clear when you watch his play.
Yeah, and we're touting SSG's intel, but I want to talk about round 8 a little bit and the questionable retake setup that they had there, Jesse.
Yeah, so there's 3 times that DarkZero tried this kitchen hold where they've got the Echo. The first 2 times they had a Maestro, otherwise they had a Valkyrie. And the first 2 times it was really like they didn't stop DarkZero dropping into the freezer at all, and then they really relied on that yokai drone denying the plant, and they didn't have anybody else there to deny the plants. They did try to throw a couple more players into the kitchen, as you said, kind of as like a retake in case the plant went down, but the angles were being watched by DarkZero, and DarkZero were not letting those players in the kitchen. When they finally brought it around the 3rd time, the big difference from Space Station was they started playing a little bit more loose on their operators. Obviously, Fultz was a big player in that round because despite the buck just opening above him, Fultz said, it doesn't matter, I need to make this play, and he got aggressive and he denied that planter by getting one of those kills. So that was important. Also, moving from the Maestro over to the Valkyrie, again, allows a little bit more flexibility. It hopefully just increases that intel you have. And again, just constant yokai spams. It's like, even when DarkZero was winning those rounds by getting the plant down, they had to plant through 4 yokai bursts, just spamming the planters. So yeah, that was an interesting kitchen hold. I didn't think it would work. I was very skeptical when they brought it out in round 12 for the 3rd time. But it worked the 3rd time. It's the charm, I guess. So, you know, what do I know?
You know what, Jesse? I expected Space Station to start countering that. And it was really big to me for the fact that DarkZero, they were allowed to go in the freezer and just, it looked like they were safe for a big amount of time. Now, what I'm thinking is maybe it was up to Thinkinate and Bosco to hit the flank to stop them coming in from the back freezer. But there was one player that stopped that all. My man Mintz, he was there. He locked it down with IQ. He got the kills when the call was made. I personally feel like one guy on IQ shouldn't stop 2 players from coming to the back and making sure that strategy worked. Space Station definitely have to hit the scrims hard when it comes to that strat again, because I was kind of hoping they didn't run it again, but then they ran it a 3rd time and won, so I'll give them that. they want.
Right. Especially,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, so sorry. No, continue, Jesse.
No, I was gonna say with Mint like being on the IQ, you'd expect him to be in the freezer, like trying to find out that yokai. But he's on the flank and he's still getting all of these kills, and the yokai isn't, getting enough of an impact. So it's like, no, Mint had a huge part in those attacks with DarkZero for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously SSG playing really well though. And I want to talk about round 7 operator selection there. Castle sneaking in there, Veli, and I knew that move stood out to you.
Yes, listen, Jackie, it's chestnut checkers, all right? Thinking they got rid of all those flashbangs and all those air jabs with one simple move before the round even started. Now, a lot of newcomers, you all come to the stream. I get it. That's a lot of your experience, but this for the new people out there. So during the 6-pick phase, everyone can see the operator you pick, right? Thinking they. He went on Echo, which caused Mint, who was on Nomad, to switch to IQ. The flank watch is out of there now, okay? Now, Thinking they switched from Echo to Castle. You got rid of all that utility to have that 20-second meta strat fulfilled with Castle. I thought that was so smart. And this just shows that Space Station Gaming, like, they're so far ahead when it comes to prepping for a round. That's even before they step foot in the building for that next round. Shout out to them.
Yeah, extremely smart team, and they got the victory today. And we have Canadian on deck, everybody. So, Canadian, can you hear us? Big win for y'all. You have clinched a spot in the major. How are y'all feeling?
Feeling good. I mean, unfortunately, the major's online and it's domestic, so it's not our favorite thing. But I mean, we're happy to qualify. We expected to qualify, but so yeah, we just met our expectations basically.
Okay, great. I'm sure that this victory was really important for your team, though. Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, we like beating DZ. They think they're good at playing the team game. We're better at it. They talk a lot of big talk on Twitter. They keep on saying that they're the best team, that they're gonna do it, like that they're the favorites to win the major. They think that they're the favorites, and unfortunately, they absolutely cannot beat us. So. I don't know. I see a problem there. There's a flaw.
I can hear Veli giggling in the background here. But, actions speak louder than words. Y'all turned up today, and you guys looked dominant, in control. Can you tell me what your team focused on when you went into this matchup?
We just basically focused on, our team play and communication, and then, of course, getting them out of their comfort zone. I mean, DZ's a team like us where when you allow them to run what they like to run, they run it really well. So we just basically trying to mess with that and make them uncomfortable because they're a team that doesn't adapt very well. I'm going to be honest, and we do. So we just play the adaptation game, force them into it, and we beat them at that.
Yes, and I actually would like to speak with you about your loss to OXG. You guys had a close game against DG, and I remember you tweeted out something about your passion for this game has been reignited. You and your team seemed on fire today, so do you think that you all are back in the groove?
Yeah, we definitely are. I think we had a little bit of complacency. Not that anyone was like completely slacking, but I don't think everyone had like the motivation to put in extra time and really just having the passion and the fire. Like that's what generates like all the ideas for me, and that's what helps us in game. And I know that that's what generates better practice for us, and we bring the energy in practice when we're fired up and when we're motivated to win. And I'm gonna be honest, we did get a little bit complacent, and the new meta kind of messed with us. We didn't get used to it quick enough. And OXG is a team that got really used to the new meta, I think, and they've been playing really well with their new lineup. So they just kind of gave us a wake-up call, and I think Lycan tweeted something about it. They basically woke up the sleeping giant now.
I love it. I was really excited to see that tweet that you're fired up. And, to date, Jesse and Veli, they're like the king of Intel, continuing his reign. I thought you played exceptionally. What was your mindset for this matchup?
Like I said, we just wanted to make them adapt and focus on that. I know I can adapt really well as an IGL, so I just kind of focused on being able to do that, making them uncomfortable. And we did just that, maintaining the comms and just playing our team game. That was really all we focused on.
You seem fired up. Definitely wanted to make them uncomfortable for sure. My last question, is SSG the best in the US?
I mean, I think results speak for themselves for the most part. I mean, OXG did beat us, so I guess there can be an argument made there. But I think overall results show that we consistently stay at the top at least, or at least have been since I've been on the team. So, I mean, obviously I think we are, but we got to prove it. At the end of the day, like, all this is talk. Like, we have to show up and prove it, and I know we're all motivated to do so. We don't want to lose.
Well, you got the victory today, a spot at the major. Congratulations, and thank you so much for speaking with us, Canadian.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
You too. Oh my gosh, I love interviewing Canadian. Like, he's got that fire. You heard him. Like, he was
great.
like, okay, DarkZero. And then you ask him, are y'all the best? And then you see him get humble. You know, he's just a really fun interview. Veli, you're giggling the whole time in the background. I was like...
Canadian's popping off. What more can you say? Listen, the king of NA is back. You can't stop him. He's the best. And Jackie, and Terrell said he wanted to see you roast people more often, okay?
Okay.
Roast Jesse for doubting the king.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Okay. Though, I will roast Intero a little bit because he was like, what was that word that Jackie used? And then he couldn't think of methodical, so I'll roast Intero a little bit for that. Okay, and I have, okay, you know what? I'll roast Jesse a little bit. This isn't even a roast. He looks like he should be on Riverdale.
Okay, that's
he
a
looks
sweet
like
compliment.
the star
That's
of a CW show.
Jesse, Jackie, that's not how you roast. That's a compliment. You got to see something bad about him.
He has a big brain.
Okay,
I don't know.
I think I deserve a
can't.
roast. I think it because Spacestation Gaming really did show up, and I was hyping up DarkZero, and legitimately, like, the bottom of my heart, I thought DarkZero was going to perform a lot better than they did, and I think that I really, was wrong today because Spacestation showed up. I think they really, like, talking about get them out of their comfort zone, that's really what it looked like. DarkZero did not look comfortable at all, particularly at the starts of these maps when it took them a while to figure out, what their groove was and how to get back on it. So no, I'll take the blame for this one. I got to get back to the drawing board and figure out what's going on because, yeah, I was caught off guard by this matchup, absolutely.
To be fair, I will
Jesse
say this.
clapping back at my roasting, by the way.
No, it's fine.
Like, actually, I was right.
Oh, I don't know if you guys hear me. Yo, I wanted to say
we hear
this,
you.
though.
Sorry.
At the end of the day, Jesse, that was a good guess. DarkZero, I'm going to be honest, at the beginning of this phase, beginning of last phase, I thought DarkZero would have come out on top of NA. But, this is shocking. So, this just shows you can never guess what happens in the NAL, and I love to see it.
You never know. You never know, folks. All right, I will work on my roasting. But we hope that you will stick around because we have some exceptional casting from Blue and Stokes. They're going to be with us. We have another great matchup. And these guys, you got to stay. We'll be right back.